Welcome to Yahoo Sports Daily, but it's not just any version of Yahoo Sports Daily. No, instead of yelling at her across the computer screen, I'm yelling right next to her. She's Caroline Fenton. I'm Jason Fitz. For the first time ever, we are live together on TV doing this thing together, Caroline. This is an awesome moment. Like, instead of being on computers and remote, we all get to come together.
It feels surreal in the best possible way. And shout out to our entire team for making our shows remote feel like a breeze. But doing it in person, it just adds a special little extra, little something, a special little razzle-dazzle. And being here for the Super Bowl, it's just mwah, chef's kiss, cherry on top. And I'm pumped to be here to do it with you, Fitzy.
Yeah, no matter how you're going to hang out with Yahoo Sports over the next few days, you are going to be amazed by what we've got for you. Obviously, we will be here just this week. Our time is different. If you're used to watching us 9 to 11 a.m. Eastern, the bosses figured we wouldn't be worth a you-know-what from that time Pacific. So we're 9 to 11 Pacific. That'll be there for us. But also throughout the course of the day, plenty of action going to be coming to you on Yahoo Sports. So make sure you're hanging out with us here. You can watch us at yahoosports.tv. You can watch any of your free TV networks and, of course, on YouTube. So, Caroline, we're here because it's the Super Bowl, and we will talk about everything else. We got Nick Friedell going to join us later. Dan Titus going to join us. The NBA talk, we're going to get into plenty. We have plenty of talk outside of just the Super Bowl. But let's start with the reason we are here, because in just a few days, Super Bowl 60 kicks off. We've got the Seahawks taking on the Patriots. Let's look at some of the biggest questions, and we'll start from the Seahawks side, because we'll talk a little bit about Klint Kubiak in a bit in the show, obviously, with my fandom. Klint Kubiak becomes the new head coach of my beloved Raiders. So the question here with the Super Bowl is there some level of distraction that we're concerned about for a Seahawks team that's trying to figure out how to prep for a Super Bowl while their offensive coordinator is also likely building a staff?
Love this for your Raiders,
Thank you.
of all, Fitzy. We will get into that shortly. But from the Seahawks perspective of it, this is the Super Bowl. We're talking about a professional. We're talking about one of the most highly sought-after coaches in the National Football League in this coaching cycle. So to think that Klint Kubiak is going to be distracted about building his team for next year, building his staff for next year, his new job that he has next year, as he's actively coaching in the Super Bowl, I think is asinine. I think it's ridiculous. And this isn't the first time that we've been talking about this, potential distractions as coaches are interviewing for head coaching jobs. We've talked about this throughout the entirety of the postseason. We talk about this every single year. If this keeps coming up, if this is still a topic of discussion here, all of these years later, all of these coaching cycles later and coaching hires later, don't we just need to change the calendar? Like, I don't think that it's going to be a concern. I don't think that this is going to be a distraction. These are professionals. This is what they do. This is their job. But if we're so worried about it being a distraction, we need to have a coaching freeze until after the Super Bowl. We need to have everybody take a pause. And then after the Super Bowl, then the interviews can start to happen. Then we can start to have these hires come out. But if this is going to be such a massive distraction, then why are we even doing it this way? Because also now, not only is this a conversation about Klint Kubiak being distracted, which again, I think is ridiculous, but Klint Kubiak is at an obvious disadvantage. I know everybody's playing the world's tiniest violin for Klint Kubiak coaching in the Super Bowl, but this is going to be an obvious disadvantage. Now Klint Kubiak is behind the 8 ball in the coaching hiring cycle.
Yeah, those are all fair points. When it comes to this game, I think we need to remember, just as a society, that football is not a 24/7 world, right? Like, we do this with athletes all the time, where we sit there and say, oh my God, I can't believe that athlete was out doing whatever it was. Well, okay, like, you don't have to live, eat, and breathe every second of the day. So Klint Kubiak went in and did his additional interviews over the weekend with the Raiders and with the Cardinals on what could have been days off. Like, there's so many hours that you get. They're used to a game a week. They have an extra week for this process. So I just think a little bit of grace and understanding that life is going to be just fine for Klint Kubiak going into this game. What about this interesting nugget timing-wise? The Seahawks are about to go up for sale. Now, I don't think that impacts anybody playing in this game, but it's just another strange conversation coming into the week. It's another weird question to be asked, a question that players will be answering, I should say. So are you any concern that creates some level of maybe a little bit of chaos?
Not from the football perspective of things, not from the fan perspective of things, at least where it is right now. I mean, great job taking the classic economic advice of buying low and selling high. I mean, there's no higher that you could sell than when your team is actively preparing for the Super Bowl. But I think if you're a Seahawks fan, obviously the Super Bowl and, potentially hoisting the Lombardi is going to be at the forefront of your mind. But we talk so much on this show, rightfully so, about ownership, about competent ownership, about owners giving their general managers and their coaches an enough resources and enough leeway on the football side of things to take care of what they need to take care of on the football field. The current ownership has given Mike Macdonald and the entire Seahawks brass that leeway and the resources that they need. You want to make sure that the next ownership group that you have coming in does that and is able to continue this kind of continuity. The second side of that, Fitzy, I think is more of a philosophical perspective from NFL ownership. The Seahawks are valued to be around $7 billion. $7 billion with a B. Who can afford that?
That's the real question, right? Because you're right. We're reaching a world right now, like the NFL rules don't allow for private equity to be the majority owner. Mm-hmm. I question when that's going to have to change, because certainly to your point, the best time to sell the Seahawks is right after they're coming off a Super Bowl appearance. I understand why we're getting all of this. It should be noted, Paul Allen, their owner, for many years, when he passed, it was in his estate plan that it had to be unwound and the team must be sold. So that's the logistics. This has been something that we knew was coming for a minute. But to your point, when you're coming off a Super Bowl, it makes a ton of sense to make this the opportunity to do it. I get all of that. I think private equity is only going to become a bigger part of the NFL. They're going to have to look at this because, for example, if the Seahawks are worth $8 billion, $7 billion with a B, what are teams in massive markets like the Giants going to turn out to be worth? Like, you start looking at valuations, and they're going to get to a spot where there just aren't enough people in the world that have the money to own an NFL team. So, to your point, I think as valuations continue to go up, we're only going to see more private equity become a part of this league. And it also gets really interesting to me because I do believe at my core, we have an ownership problem in the NFL. There are plenty of people that are representing their teams in a way that makes me curious to whether or not they're capable of owning a team. We see that a lot right now. To me, the Seahawks weren't one of those. Even though there's all this instability with the change from Paul Allen, like, we're talking about one of the better run teams over the course of a generation now unwinding their ownership. I think there are plenty of fans out there that say, why can't, like Browns fans are saying, why couldn't it have been us, right? Like, you look across the board, they won it.
Browns fans, Jets fans,
Vikings
Titans fans, Raiders fans.
Mm-hmm.
Like, there are teams that have been perpetually swimming through the sea of suck, and that's not just, oh, you swung and missed on a quarterback. It's not just, oh, you swung and missed on a head coach. It's just sometimes when you have poor ownership, that's the foundation of your organization, and poor ownership is not something that you can overcome. You can fire a coach, you can fire a general manager, you can cut a quarterback and draft a new one. What you can't do is replace ownership. You bring up private equity, though, and without getting overly political, I also wonder what the future of Saudi ownership is in the National Football League. I don't know how many private equity companies, how many individuals out there can afford the 7, 8, 9, 10 plus billion-dollar price tags that a lot of these NFL organizations are going to be valued at. Is the NFL prepared to have Saudi ownership?
I don't know. I mean, the process and systems in place to become an NFL owner seem like they're so difficult because there are so few candidates that can just put together the money. But also, again, I think they've got enough people that are incapable of owning a team at the highest possible level.
Yeah.
I'll be interested. Roger Goodell is going to speak today, and he'll speak to the media. We don't get a lot out of that typically, but I'll be interested to see how much he talks about whatever the future of the league looks like. Because certainly, to your point, I say all the time, if you have a favorite restaurant, you love it, and then all of a sudden the food gets bad, you don't get to kick open the door and yell, I think you should sell this restaurant. You just got to stop going there to eat. That's happened to a bunch of fan bases that are looking around and they've loved their team, but they haven't had good food from them for a long, long time, and they want to kick in the door, but life ain't that simple. Let's look at the other side. Since we've given Seahawks fans reason for angst, fear not, we're going to be equal opportunity angstists here. So let's take a look at the Patriots side of it, and I want to look specifically at Drake Maye.
Yeah.
He's missed time in practice due to illness and due to a shoulder injury, but none of this changes the fact, Caroline, that he hasn't played particularly well throughout the course of the postseason. So I'm sitting here looking at a fan base that's used to Tom Brady. Mm-hmm. I'm sitting here looking at somebody that lives in New England. I'm in the thick of Patriots fans that are telling me, we're back, and this is just the beginning of another dynasty. If Drake Maye comes out and lays an egg in the Super Bowl against a really incredible Seahawks defense that I think could cause that, what's the level of pressure we're feeling on Drake right now?
I mean, if you're a Patriots fan, you should be concerned. It's not when you get reports that say, oh, your quarterback is dealing with shoulder injuries and has been missing practice due to illness. That's not something that you read and you say, that's fine. No worries, totally cool with us. No, of course, that's going to add a level of concern, and especially for a young quarterback in his second year in the league who hasn't played his best brand of football in the postseason. How many times have you seen a quarterback throw for 84 yards in an AFC Championship game and then punch its ticket to the Super Bowl? So I do think there's a level of concern there. I do think there is still a question mark about how much Drake Maye can elevate his football team, because we haven't seen Drake Maye need to elevate the Patriots, at least in the postseason. Patriots fans, I'm sure, are so sick and tired of hearing that, and that's fine, but that's the truth. The defense has, and the run game has been doing a majority of the heavy lifting for the Patriots throughout the entirety of the postseason. But now you're not just going up against a Chargers team that's, battered and bruised on the offensive line. You're not going up against a backup quarterback and Jarrett Stidham that they played against the Denver Broncos. You're talking about a quarterback who went toe-to-toe with the likely league MVP in Sam Darnold. And you're talking about one of the best defenses and best defensive coaches in the National Football League. The Patriots are going to need Drake Maye to play as close to the MVP caliber football that we've seen Drake Maye play throughout the entirety of the season.
I think all of this speaks to context, and two things can be true, right? Drake Maye has had a really incredible season, and this has been an incredible resurgence for the Patriots. Those are all true. Yeah. But I listened to Dominique Foxworth is a good friend, and I listened to him this morning talking about Sam Darnold on ESPN, and he mentioned Sam started off hot, and he's hot in the playoffs, but for a while in the season, he didn't play well. I think that's fair. But also, shouldn't we say the same thing about Drake right now? Drake may end up the MVP. All right, that's fine, because the MVP factors in so much of everything that you did in the regular season. That's fine. This isn't about that. This is about what we've seen over the course of the last several games from Drake. And look, in part, that's because they've played some really good defenses. In part, as we've talked about, I think they've taken on some offenses that just were not particularly a threat. So this has been a best-case scenario the entire way. Best case scenario can get you all of the feels and get you to the Super Bowl with all of this great sort of momentum, which I think the Patriots have right now and the Patriots fan base feels. If he goes into the Super Bowl particularly and lays an egg, which is, again, a human thing to do. I just think that there will be an immediate sort of rubber band reaction from a fan base that's used to having the greatest quarterback of all time in these situations play like the greatest quarterback of all time. Patrick Mahomes has had two forgettable Super Bowls for real reasons that are absolute context to why he's had two forgettable Super Bowls. But twice we've seen, maybe the greatest quarterback of this generation get stymied in the Super Bowl. I don't think it's unfair to think that could happen to Drake Maye. I'm curious how we will view an MVP that then turned around and was anything but an MVP throughout the course of the playoff run.
I don't think there will be or should be some sort of sweeping observation that we give for Drake Maye. Let's just say, let's live in a world, in a fantasy land, where Drake Maye totally lays an egg, throws for 150 yards, a touchdown, and 2 picks. I don't think that we should all of a sudden say, well, Drake Maye can't win any of the big games, because I don't think that's fair. Drake Maye hasn't played a lot of football. This is Drake Maye's second year in the league. This is also a very young team. We've seen Will Campbell, their left tackle, a top 5 pick in the draft this past year, look like a rookie seeing his first playoff football for the first time in his career. So those warts, those were a real thing. That's why so many times I've said, Fitzy, I think that knocking on the door of the playoffs is important. You need to experience postseason football. You need to be there before. But we do have that kind of moniker on Sam Darnold. If Sam Darnold lays an egg in the Super Bowl, will only continue that reputation of Sam Darnold can't win you a big one. So I think this one is a bigger one for Sam Darnold in the way that we view him moving forward.
I mean, confirmation bias is at its best with Sam Darnold 100%. Right now. If you're in on Sam Darnold, then whatever happens in this game is going to confirm that. If you're out on Sam Darnold, it's likely to do the same. You're 1,000% right. And I will say, I think there's a cheat code for Drake Maye, and his name is Josh McDaniels. Josh McDaniels has been in the Super Bowl, what is this, his 9th as a coordinator? There is nothing new to Josh McDaniels at this point. So certainly he's proven to be a cheat code for Drake Maye, and I think that will continue. We will continue to give you a ton on this Super Bowl matchup. And like I said, everything else going on in sports for the first time live in person together ever. Yahoo Sports Daily coming at you. But coming up next, one of the best in the business happens to be our teammate, Andrew Siciliano, going to join us. We'll get Siciliano's thoughts on all things Browns, a team he knows better than anybody. And of course, on all things right now, breaking news in the NFL. We'll do that next. Andrew Siciliano joining us coming up next on Yahoo Sports Daily.
The Kirby may not win another national title. I think he's the best head coach in college football right now. So it sounds kind of like an oxymoron. It's not. Well, it's possible I'm wrong that he's the best. But even if I'm right that he is the best, yeah, it's possible that he won 2 of them back-to-back years, and that's it. That's what Dabo Swinney did. He won a couple, and then I don't think Dabo will ever win another national title. What does that mean? It means he's one of the best to ever do it, and he's a Hall of Famer. That's what it means for Dabo Swinney.
All right, so let's talk about fights we want to see 2026. GC, you just gave us a nice little teaser there, so why don't you go first?
My concrete one, my number one that I want to see is still remaining Ilia Topuria versus Islam Makhachev. Whether it's at 170, whether it's Islam going down to 155, the star power that these two guys have with the run that Islam is on, with the undefeated record of Ilia Topuria, it's just a match that I am craving more than any other.
Isaiah Stewart is underrated, Sharp. Way underrated. 37% from three. It's a really good pick. People think about Isaiah Stewart as this tough guy who can shoot, good at rim finisher and all that too. But in reality this year, he's become a all defensive player candidate. He's become a great switch defender. Isaiah Stewart, one of the most underrated players in the whole league.
The NFL's so brutal, man. It's such a brutal. I thought to myself when Jonathan Gannon got fired, I thought, did they not just wish him a happy birthday? They did. They wished him a happy birthday, and then they fired him on the same day. So that's the NFL, folks. That hook is real. It's out there.
I mean, it's bad. It's bad to be fired. He does, however, get a lovely parting gift.
You see right there, we are live from San Francisco all week. We gave it to you full house style. Andrew Siciliano featured in that. I don't know. I think C-Rob got the best look of all of us, though.
I was going to say that.
C-Rob on the trolley. I'm feeling this.
It kind of looks like he's like San Francisco PD, ma'am. I'm here to investigate your crime.
100%.
Like he's about to pull a badge out like there's been a crime on the trolley.
I'm in for all of that. A little weird. Like, I'm used to having tattoos, so I look at that. I'm like, I look so grown up, and
You look so nice with the guitar. It's very fitting.
You play guitar.
So I can strum a few chords, but not particularly.
That's the first thing I thought.
Yeah,
Most musically inclined on this set, that is for sure, without a doubt.
Yeah, they picked one of the things that I genuinely don't cover or don't play. You can watch Andrew Siciliano on Inside Coverage, obviously hanging out all year long, but you guys are also going to be here for the course of the week. It's going to be
right on this very beautiful set.
This is nice, right?
Yeah, it's great.
I'm good about this.
Beautiful.
Any big surprises this week? Anything you're looking forward to the world finding out?
My big surprise is, I think I just overheard correctly, this is the first time you guys have been together. Is that the same set?
On this show.
On this show. Okay, got it.
So we knew each other back when we were both at ESPN. So so we have a long-standing friendship that we were excited that we got to work together.
But now we're all here together.
Now we're all here.
We get to meet so many of our producers for the first time.
Same.
And so when you learn, like, oh my gosh, you're tall. Oh my gosh, you're not as tall as I thought you were.
Do you think Goldfarb was like 6'4"?
He is 6'4",
Okay.
6'5". Cleveland Cavaliers, give him a call.
Jared Allen and Mike Goldfarb in the paint. Yeah, of course.
The best compliment I've ever gotten on Radio Row was I walked up to somebody last year and they're like, Sneaky, I thought you were going to be a lot shorter. And I was like, hey, look at that.
I don't know if that's a compliment or not.
No, it's not. It's not a compliment. You guys, Scott Hansen coming on this week?
Scott's coming on. I believe Scott's coming on tomorrow. So like Red Zone Worlds collide.
Yeah. How do we feel about that?
We're doing great. I feel great about it. We're doing the Gold Zone for the Olympics together as well, which we did for Paris. We're doing that again, firing it up this weekend for NBC and for Peacock for the Winter Games in Milan. So we'll do the Spider-Man meme on TV like we did last summer.
What's like, to me, the hardest part of that has to be pronunciation of names.
my God,
Like, tell me you're just getting bombarded with
So
names.
NBC has an amazing research staff, and my guy Dan Meyer is going to be like right there, 3 feet to my left with his pronunciation guide. And without him, I would be worthless. Absolutely worthless.
Again, that's what makes you a total pro. Whenever they give it to me phonetically, I sound like I'm spelling something out like a child on air. I'm the worst. Go ahead.
It's not always the easiest thing in the world, but Olympic event you're most looking forward to?
I'd say curling, but I don't know. Honestly, the curling begins on Wednesday. I haven't done a deep dive on my curling yet, other than we have an American team, a mixed team, where they're both named Corey. So that one's fun. From Minnesota, the Coreys from Minnesota. Lindsey Vonn, obviously, 41 years old with a titanium knee. Fingers crossed that she can go Sunday morning. She had a fall a couple of days ago. And Chloe Kim as well. She's got the bum shoulder, but she's trying to go for a third consecutive gold on the half pipe. No one thought she'd be back for this one, but she's back, and hopefully those two Americans, both with a gold medal shot, are able to go and fight through their injuries. Yeah.
You get to go to Italy, which means
I do not get to go to Italy. We are live from Stamford, Connecticut.
Stanford is the Italy of the United States.
Stanford is the Milan.
Yeah.
If I wasn't strapped into this chair, I would walk off set for you. I'm so upset.
It's okay.
You get to go to Stamford, Connecticut, right down from where I live, actually. So I was all jealous. While you're in Stamford, ironically, go check on my dogs. I will be sitting in for you in inside coverage.
Thank you.
So they're doing a little switcherooski action. Let's get into some NFL news. Got a lot to cover with you. We'll start with some head coaching hirings. Specifically, we've already waxed about Klint because of my Raiders fandom. But let's look at Mike LaFleur for the Cardinals. What do you think of the match and sort of the process to get there?
Speaking of height, I am thrilled that there is now an NFL head coach my height. It's fantastic. I'm very happy for Mike. It continues the long trend of Sean McVay offensive coordinators eventually getting head coaching jobs. Mike had a chance to call plays when he was with the Jets. That kind of rudely and abruptly ended early, but he's now been back with the Rams for a couple of years, and he stays in the division. To me, that's one of those where you're looking at the landscape saying, which is the good job? Well, they're both good jobs. I mean, there are 10 jobs. I would like to think they're all good jobs. There are only 32 of these jobs. But he now has to, A, figure out the quarterback situation, and B, do it in a division with the NFC champion, with Kyle Shanahan, and with his old boss, Sean McVay, who is also in the NFC championship game. I like some of the pieces on their roster, but the whole Kyler thing looms over their offseason.
He's got his work cut out for him.
Yeah.
No doubt. We talked about that throughout the entirety of the coaching cycle of the Arizona Cardinals job was probably one of the toughest ones that they had available. But not only do we have hirings over the weekend, we also had a pretty massive firing. Adofo-Mensah, general manager in Minnesota. He talked at the Senior Bowl about how the Sam Darnold decision to move on from him in free agency kept him up at night. And then just mere hours later, he's relieved of his duties.
The timing is interesting. He had kind of said the same thing 2 weeks earlier when he and Kevin O'Connell both had their week after end of season pressers. And I thought I was actually just talking to somebody outside on the street and ran into somebody talking about this. And so they both, neither said we want to bring in competition for JJ. They both used the phrase, KOC and Kwesi, we need better depth in our quarterback room, which is their way of saying, we need competition in the quarterback room. They had, I think it was more than Darnold. I think it was Daniel Jones as well. Daniel Jones probably would have stayed. They didn't make a big offer. They decided to roll with JJ. Organizationally, I get it. You drafted the guy. You got to see what he could do. He had that moment, that glimpse there in the one preseason game in 2024. You're like, that's the guy. So let's go roll with him. But clearly there had to have been a disconnect between the coach and the GM. I just am curious why 28 days later they decide to do it.
I mean, all of that speaks back to some of Justin Jefferson, because I'm going to stack some things together here. He recently said that they definitely would have been better. He was asked a very point-blank question.
I was kind of surprised he said that.
Very honest answer. But I'm going to go back to the summer when I talked to him for this show. And I asked him about JJ, and he said, I need JJ to have the same level of confidence in himself that I have in him. So I feel like this is not the first time that JJ's kind of been honest about JJ. You know what I mean? So what do we make of Justin Jefferson not really holding back on his starting quarterback?
So I think two things can be true. He said what he said, and the headline reads worse than the quote. But he definitely did say it. We had him on Inside Coverage mid-season, and it was great. I don't know if we posted the whole thing, but we went 20 minutes, and I thought he opened up a lot. And he said that he needs
because I said, are you done with 9? Remember JJ's 9? I'm 9. Like Stallone and Over the Top. I turned my hat around. I'm a different guy. I'm like, are you done with 9? He said, I'm not done with 9, but I need JJ, or 9, to kind of be a little more even-keeled. Like, when he burns hot, like, I don't know if he can't maintain it. You might have a couple of downfield throws. You might have a couple of moments. You might have a couple of drives, but he can't be that guy the entire time. I need a consistent leader, but he can't stay consistently healthy, and that's the biggest issue. If they had 16 games or 17 games to work with and a sample size, I think maybe we'd be in a different spot. Maybe he had played well enough where Kwesi saves his job. But overall, the 4 drafts, not good. I mean, I hit your mic, I'm sorry, Kyle.
That's okay.
The Kyle Hamilton, Lewis Seen draft, not good. Every team has a whiff, but I think there are enough whiffs there where they said it's time to move on.
And I don't think that it is a coincidence that for so long we've been talking about Justin Jefferson as not just one of the, but the best wide receivers in the National Football League. We're not really doing that much this year. We're talking a lot about Jackson Smith and Jigba. It's fair to say your wide receiver is only as good as the quarterback that's throwing him the football. Yeah. We heard Justin Jefferson talk about Joe Brady and how much Joe Brady meant to his development back when they had that magical season in 2019 at LSU. Is there a reality where Justin Jefferson is not a Minnesota Viking long-term?
So I don't think so unless he puts his foot down and says, I want out of here. I don't know that he's going to do that this offseason, although Radio Row has always been fun with those. Myles Garrett last year in New Orleans, although he stayed, and he got a new contract and a sizable new contract. That, to me, that's always like, you said the surprise, or like, what are you looking forward to this week? I'm not looking forward to, people demanding trades, but there's always news that comes out of this week where you're like, okay, I didn't see that coming. That kind of changes the course of the offseason for any number of teams.
I mean, to that point, we talked to Max last year. It's Super Bowl.
Max Crosby.
Max Crosby. Yeah. Same thing. Like, Max was like, we'll see how this plays out. And then he got paid, So you're right.
Did.
Like, bags of cash seem to change some of this.
You could make a big argument, though, that the Raiders should move him right now, couldn't you?
100%.
Like, if you're going to get 2 number 1s, and you already have the number 1 pick, the Jets have 5 number 1s in the next 2 years. That's hard to screw up. You can. The Dolphins kind of did that already when they had it, 5 years ago. But if you were to trade Max, and you would have number 1 and whatever you would get for it. The problem is the teams that are ready to give up number 1 picks, or 2 number 1s, which is what you'd have to give up last year for Myles or this year for Max, they're picks at the bottom of the round. Mm-hmm. Like, all my friends in Chicago were blowing up my phone last year. We want Myles Garrett. I'm like, that's great. I don't want. Where the Bears were picking 10 last year, something like that, or I don't remember. But like it was Washington that wanted him, and I'm like, that's great. I don't want the 30th pick.
Right.
But the 30th pick is a second-round pick, in all essence.
But that speaks to a little bit of why I think this Vikings moment is so hard to wrap our heads around, because this was not a team that sucked making a quarterback decision.
Right.
This was a team that was in a Super Bowl window deciding that they weren't going to, like, I'll always come back to the very simple. They could have franchised Sam Darnold.
They could have.
Financial ramifications.
Or Daniel Jones.
Right. Either one. They could have franchised a way to protect themselves, and they chose not to. So, like, if there's massive recourse to that, like, Andrew, that makes sense to me. Like, yes. You didn't do the one thing you should have done when you're in a Super Bowl.
Well, before McCarthy was announced for Pittsburgh, I said, when we said on Inside Coverage, let's connect the dots. Let's send, Kyle Van Noy brought it up, actually. He was a guest. Let's send Aaron to Minnesota. We talked about it last year. They want depth in the quarterback room. Aaron Rodgers, KOC, reunited, or not reunited, they've never been together, but like, get them together a year after the fact, and there's your JJ, Aaron Rodgers thing. They compete automatically in the NFC North. Now, with McCarthy in Pittsburgh, I don't think that's going to happen. I assume if Aaron plays, it'll be in Pittsburgh. But, the veteran quarterback market this year is not going to be exciting. Everybody has Malik Willis going to 10 different places. He can't go to 10 different places. There's not a lot of guys out there.
That's the thing I keep screaming. Between the draft and free agency, there's not a lot of saving. Like, there aren't saving graces in this year's offseason. We've got a lot to cover.
Will be your saving grace.
Malik Willis. We'll figure out what the future of Malik Willis looks like. But also, we got plenty of Browns to talk to. You are the voice of the Browns. You know this organization better than anyone. We're going to force you to stay with us on set for an extra segment.
I'm happy.
When we come back, we'll get Andrew's thoughts on how to fix the Browns and what all of the change has actually led to. We'll do that next.
Have you ever seen such a lopsided turnout I'd say it sounded like an Indiana home game, but it's probably louder than an Indiana home game because the way Indiana Stadium is built is not to keep the sound in. What I'm curious about is it louder than when the Falcons are really good, one of their home games? I'm guessing it is because
we don't have a data point on that, Andy.
I know. I was walking you into that, Falcons fan Stephen Godfrey.
But the Brady part of this is the most interesting thing. He's kind of a part-timer there. And there's no proof of concept that Tom Brady knows how to conduct a coaching search. He was a great quarterback. This is a completely different job. Like, I don't know, other than he's a big name and Mark Davis loves big names. The Raiders went out of their way today to mention that Tom Brady's going to be part of the search. Why? So Mark Davis could sit back and say, yeah, Tom Brady, that's my guy.
I want to see Petr Yan back, and I'm okay with if Merab is the next fight. But at some point, hopefully in 2026, maybe later, I do want to see Sean O'Malley versus Petr Yan. And I believe I had that last year. This fight has to happen at some point. I love this fight so much.
When you did speak about it last year, Yan was nowhere near.
He wasn't
the
even in the
picture. All you said was you want to see a 5-round fight between the two of them.
It's a great one.
I want to start with this disclaimer. I criticize because I care. I look at Florida State and I think Bobby Bowden, I think Peter Warrick, I think Jameis Winston, I think national titles. But you look at Florida State right now, across their own state, they're falling behind. The nature of the beast is this thing has gone sour at Florida State and it's not working. But if you care, you make drastic moves. If you care, you pay the price of caring. And the price of caring here, for my money, is buying out Mike Norvell to $58 million.
God only knows every time an athlete posts on social media, we react. But this deserves it. Myles Garrett's latest Instagram story. Look, he obviously in his feels, as it was unexpected for many people, for Todd Monken to become the new head coach of the Cleveland Browns. I will take a quick soapbox moment and remind you that if you go back and look at every single ranking of every single head coaching hire, they get this wrong all the time. Who knows? That's the real answer. But what do you make as somebody that covers it? You know Myles better than most people. You're around this team. What do you make of his Instagram reaction to all of this?
Okay, so can I tell you a funny story about said IG post? Myles is a photographer. He has also been over in Europe with I mentioned Chloe Kim. They're dating, so he's been over there with Chloe. He had posted over a number of days a bunch of pictures from Switzerland, just random stuff out and about, like street art and other things, fountains in Switzerland. So I'm going through his IG stories. I was not familiar with that shot or that meme. Just going through real fast, I thought it was another picture from Switzerland. I skipped right by it. I knew nothing about it whatsoever. And maybe 12 hours later, it was just one that fell through the cracks. I missed the news cycle. Somebody said to me, "What do you think of the IG story?" I'm like, "What do you mean?" Like, "You saw Myles' post." I'm like, "No, I didn't. What do you mean?" And they go back and look. Like the hot chicken sandwich, like that guy? I'm like, I have no idea what you're talking about. So I went back and I'm like, oh, I thought that was a picture from Switzerland.
Oh, that's amazing.
Like, no, that's like a meme. I said, I had no clue. I totally missed it. So yeah, clearly one would assume from that he wanted Jim Schwartz. The defense loves Jim Schwartz. Like, I get it. They've had a top 5 defense the last 3 years. Jim wants to be a head coach again. He was angling for the job. He had 2 interviews for the job. He didn't get the job. It remains to be seen how that works out. But the defense loves their guy, and Myles is one of those that certainly would have liked continuity on the defensive side. I still think there's a chance for continuity on the defensive side. I don't know. Todd Monken is introduced at noon Eastern on Tuesday. So 24 hours from now, and we'll have a little more insight then. I think he's a really good head coach. It wasn't the pick that maybe the fans had worked their brains into believing was going to happen. Like Nate Scheelhaus, for example, that also would have been great. But a guy that's only called plays once other than the preseason, 2023 at Iowa State. Todd Monken is a really, really, really good coach. And I'd like to draw maybe a Bruce Arians comparison. Like a guy that's been like a well-respected, in-your-face, but like fun and funny and crazy uncle kind of offensive guy for all these years with all these systems, but never gotten his shot. And now he gets his shot. I think Browns fans need to pump their brakes and wait and see.
I am always of the belief that just because you win the press conference
Right.
doesn't mean that you win
Nick
the hire.
Sirianni lost the press conference.
Liam Cohen.
Liam Cohen lost the press conference.
Duval. I still cringe thinking about it, and the Jags are fresh off of a trip to the postseason. So I give it some time to evaluate.
He's going to win the press conference. I guarantee you Todd Monken's going to win the press conference.
Why Monken?
So, a couple of things. Number one, they wanted an offensive guy. Number two, he had been in the building before. They're familiar with him. 2019, he was the offensive coordinator for that was not a good year in 2019. It was the Freddie Kitchens season. It all went sideways. And Todd would be the OC, but Freddie would call plays. And as legend has it, not a lot of plays that Freddie called were necessarily on what the things they worked on during the week. Freddie liked to, go into the bag of tricks and, have fun with Baker, and everything was different, let's just put it that way. But he is a detail-oriented guy that has, I'll use the phrase, made chicken salad wherever he has been, whether it's air raid with Brandon Weeden in Oklahoma State, whether it's a lot of the backs and the tight ends where they won back-to-back national championships with Georgia and what they had there, Stetson Bennett, the RPO game with Lamar Jackson. He's done a lot with what he has, and he's really good, I think, at building an offense and maybe operationally cleaning up some of the stuff that the last 2 years was a big negative.
What do we make of the Shedeur video? Because I think everybody's just constantly this is what fifth-round draft pick Shedeur Sanders. But what do we make of the Shedeur video?
When I make that face, it wasn't you at the question.
100%.
Have you been asked about Shedeur yet?
Asked a few times about what we make of the video. Here's what I make of the video, honestly. Shedeur is in the building working hard, getting ready for next year. Truly. And they had met, I guess, in the pre-draft process, or maybe they hadn't, I don't know. But you saw Monken say, hey, we wanted you. That story obviously came out week 2 when the Browns were in Baltimore. That Sunday morning, the story broke. Oh, yeah, the Ravens wanted him, but they said no. I think Shedeur has a really good shot to be the guy next year, as that is going to get clipped and aggregated. But there will be other quarterbacks in the room as well. No one is handing him the job. But
but isn't
to build that relationship?
Isn't that the right approach? Stick there for a second, because we last segment talked about the fact that there's not a lot in the draft this year. There's one quarterback that people are clearly set on. The rest of it, we'll see. Maybe Ty Simpson.
You do not know.
The best veteran out there is Malik Willis, who's going to have a bidding war.
There'll be others. There'll be Kirk Cousins. There will be quarterbacks that shake free. Kyler Murray.
Yeah, maybe. But
you can go get him.
But isn't the rational approach to say, you know what, we're going to let Shedeur and whoever else is in the room compete for it, and if it doesn't work it out,
absolutely,
we'll figure it out.
But I would not read into the social media team posting. I mean, they're here. The social media team is here to cover Denzel Ward and Shedeur Sanders in the Pro Bowl games and flag football nonsense as well. So, the coach is there. There's a player in the building. He happens to be the quarterback for the second half of this past season. There's no reason not to post it.
There's a lot being made about the video, a lot being made about Todd Monken's outfit as well. So, we're just in silly season.
I mean, he's
a football guy.
Not Mike McDaniel.
Right.
But speaking of Mike McDaniel, though, Mike McDaniel pulls his name out of the Browns' head coaching candidacy, as did Jesse Minter.
Yeah.
Jesse Minter obviously takes the job in Baltimore. Mike McDaniel takes the job with the Chargers. What do you make of this idea that everybody's pulling their name out of the coaching candidacy because they don't want to be in Cleveland?
Okay, so we just met.
Yes.
And I'm
lovely to meet you.
Lovely. And I'm going to say this, not about you, I promise, Caroline, nor about this, but just in general.
Yeah.
Because my old man will get it from whatever news app he's on, clickbait, aggregated nonsense. Mm-hmm. It is the biggest fake news garbage in the world for 2 reasons. Let's look at it individually. Since John Harbaugh left, I think a lot of people thought Jesse Minter had been in the building and he was likely where they were going to land. Jesse Minter had accepted that job. They announced it 90 minutes later. He pulled out of the Browns search because the job he wanted was offered to him and he said yes. Mm-hmm. So he pulled out of the search because he had already accepted the other job and was on his way to Baltimore. I would argue, let's go to Mike McDaniel, that of the 10 open head coaching jobs, the best job in this cycle was Chargers OC. Rehab for a year as a fired head coach, and then come back next year after working with the quarterback that your old job could have taken over Tua but did not. And now you get a chance to work with him with a playoff-capable defense. You get to live in Manhattan Beach. Chargers are in El Segundo, 2 minutes away. Stephen Ross gets to pay for you living in Manhattan Beach. And you get to coach Justin Herbert It's not a knock on the Browns or the Chargers or the Raiders or the Cardinals or the Giants. To me, that's the best job. And then go pick whichever job you want next year. So him pulling out, I mean, I don't know. I think he took a good job.
It also speaks to the way that we cover these hiring processes now. Like
minute by minute.
And teams now announce we've finished this interview. And I realize that that's feeding the beast that we live on. Like we live on clicks, right?
100%.
Aggregation matters. I understand that. But I think it does create this very unhealthy sort of obsession. Like the fact is, I've never hid my Raiders fandom. Most Raiders fans had never heard of Davis Webb. And then all of a sudden you hear Davis Webb, and you're like, well, that's the guy. And then Davis Webb pulls out, and it's like, well, that must mean something catastrophic.
It means they're going to give the job to Klint Kubiak, and he knows it, and he's going to go back to Denver.
All of this can be way simpler than fans want it to be.
It's a horse race.
100%.
Yeah. And now this guy's pulling in front, and now that guy's coming around the backstretch, and he's on the, And now he's moving to the inside. It's a horse race minute by minute from the insiders, all of them, for every platform. And some of it is not nearly as dramatic as it seems. Now, when it turned out that McDaniel was then going to interview for the Bills job, that maybe changed it a little bit. But I know it sounded like hyperbole. I really do think that coaching Justin Herbert for a year with Harbaugh running things, first of all, that's like a great buddy cop show. Like, we need that for NFL film and for Hard Knocks, the two of them together. Like, that to me was a fantastic job.
I don't even know what they're going to talk about, but I would love to be a fly on the wall on just any random day in their relationship and listening to any of their conversations. But I do think so much of NFL coaching cycles, our perception is reality. Yeah. We think this guy is great, so he's going to be great. We think this guy sucks, so he's going to suck. That's not
like
always
you said,
how
you
it pans
fall in love
out.
with a name that's been in your timeline.
And you know nothing about him. You know nothing about what was he responsible for? Was the Broncos' success this season and Bo Nix's ascension in year 2 in the NFL because of Davis Webb or not? I don't know the answer to that question.
He's going to be a head coach.
He will be a head coach eventually. I think a big part of that, too, a la the Myles Garrett Instagram story, is the perception is how in the world could you let Jim Schwartz out of the building in Cleveland? Is there a world where that relationship can be repaired and Jim Schwartz is back with the Browns?
I would like to see it happen. I can be hopeful that it happens. Jim Schwartz is under contract. I'm not going to be the wave the contract in your face guy here on TV. He is under contract. There is a roadblock here. They got to figure it out one way or the other. I would never say never. We're 23 and a half hours away from getting some kind of insight, or maybe we get no insight whatsoever. But I do think Todd Monken and that fantastic sport coat that he was wearing, will win the presser, because he is a funny cursing, like there is a Bruce Arians to him there.
I'm just going to shovel you my take on this.
Please.
You didn't ask for it, but when I heard that Monken was the hire and everybody thought they were going to keep Schwartz, I actually didn't like it. When I find out Schwartz is gone, I like it a lot more. And it's not because, I don't know anything about Monken. Might turn out to be a great coach, might not. I know Jim Schwartz is a great defensive coordinator. I take nothing away from that. I don't love a divided locker room. And in my mindset, the first thing I kept thinking is if you keep Schwartz, you're basically saying us versus them. And that to me is a real problem when you're trying to figure out, I think very simply, organizations should be built top down. Mm-hmm. So there should be a very clear line of demarcation in the sand of who's in charge of what and who's executing whose systems and how everybody responds. And if you keep Schwartz, as much as I understand why that makes Myles Garrett happy, you're also basically saying, Myles Garrett, you can deal with him, everybody else can deal with the head coach. I don't love that. I actually love changing the entire locker room and changing the entire voicing around any new coach.
I get it. I really do. It's a valid point. You would hope that adults and level heads could all come together and make it work. We'll see if that actually happens.
That is fair.
Yeah, I don't know. But it's also understandable that if you interview for the job and you don't get the job, let's say upper management, ownership of whatever company you're working for, you've been there for a while and you want to move to the corner office, and they interview you and they're like, hey, listen, we really like the job that you do, but we've decided that you're great in that job and we're going to hire someone else. We love you. Can you please stay? You've worked here all these years. You're a valuable member. Can you get over it? We'll see.
My soft ass ego would not be able to get it.
And I
Every
get
day
that.
I would walk by the corner office being like,
I totally get that.
And football guy egos are big. Like, there's a reason why they can withstand the brunt of working in the NFL, and it's because you got a big ego and you got some thick skin.
Yeah. Look, there are basic human emotions here that I think we all understand.
1,000%.
Yeah.
in the end of all of this, I guess if you're a Browns fan, to me, this is the most hopeful time, right? For every single fan base. Why not believe, right? Yeah. So as we sit here today, as broken as things have been for the last few years for the Browns, why not believe that this is going to turn it around?
I agree. And you're selling hope a lot of years for, any fan base that isn't here. They're 14 to make the playoffs, obviously, so 12 that aren't here, and then everyone else. I think there is reason for hope. At the same time, you got to figure out quarterback. You got to figure out offensive line. There are a lot of things you have to figure out, but last year's draft class gives you hope with Carson Schlesinger, who's going to be Rookie of the Year on Thursday night, with Quinshon Judkins, with Harold Fannin, with Mason Graham. Like you have with Isaiah Bond, you have these really good young pieces from last year's class. If you could, that was a home run. That was a grand slam at the draft last year.
Yeah.
Okay. If you can just hit a double up the gap and maybe easily get to second with an eye on third in this year's draft, like just have a good draft. You don't have to have like the grand slam, but a good draft. Like that's a great foundation. And you already have the defense, regardless of who's calling the defense. The talent is there. You know that.
Hope. That's all any fan base can ask for. Hope. That's hope season. February through August is hope season.
The Patriots were picking in the top 5 last year.
Let's
What do we
look,
got?
though. We will see how good of a coach Todd Monken ends up being, but let's rate the outfit because we can do that.
Okay, so we got the sport coat, the button down, untucked, and the
Power move.
and the baggy jeans. What do you think?
It's a little frumpy to me.
90s dad chic.
He's almost 60.
I would just like to say I don't know what shoes he's wearing, but I
Can't
do feel
see.
like he's probably wearing New Balance sneakers.
You also do realize, I know you guys both realize, that even on podium days during the season, like it is a football building, you are wearing dry fit.
Yes.
7 days a week.
100%.
Right. Absolutely. It is nothing but dry fit.
That is the reason that I need to be an NFL head coach.
Just wear
Because
dry
that's
fit.
like
all day, every day?
I'm just in dry fit hoodie, dry fit sweats, dry fit, all day.
You wear the sport coat on the plane. It says sport coat on the plane. Most people don't wear sport coats on the plane.
Yeah.
And that's it.
Body-based
It's a dry
sweatpants.
fit job.
I feel like somebody looked at him and said, need a coat. All right, Andrew Siciliano, everybody, you can watch him on Inside Coverage. Of course, watch him on the great coverage
By the way,
you'll be
that
doing for
happened
the
to Vic
Olympics.
Fangio, by the way, years ago.
you-
When he showed up to Denver, he borrowed a coat.
That's amazing.
story.
That is amazing.
Too busy coaching, too busy scouting.
I'll be borrowing Andrew's coat to sit in for Inside Coverage a couple of days this week, too. So be sure to hang out with all of us. We appreciate your time. Thanks, as always. Speaking of hope, I'm about to just wax with tons of it because that man, Klint Kubiak, is the head coach of my beloved Raiders.
What is the argument in your eyes for Cam Boozer as the first pick in the draft?
His game is just really resilient. And, with all the concerns about some of his verticality or the burst, whatever it may be, he's been incredibly productive.
It's just hard to look at Boozer and argue against the level of production from him at every single level, while he's also continued to get better at add more to his game.
And the knock against Oregon is that they've always been a step away from national championship caliber.
Dan Lanning has to build a more complete roster. And, we can say, he took all this from Kirby Smart. Well, none of what he learned from Kirby Smart actually applies anymore. He's got to do it in this era. They're still good. They're still going to be there every year. He's got to have that one right mix that comes together. And I think it will.
Jaylen Brown, what a run he's on, was.
I think he's earned the right to pound his chest at this point. There's just no two ways about it. And the truth of the matter is Jaylen Brown is playing like a superstar. There's no qualifications here. Like this guy is playing like one of the best players in the NBA. He's getting it done on both ends of the court.
My fight that I need to see next year is Alex Pereira versus John Jones. The history is the fact that Alex Pereira could be the first one to defeat John Jones, all due respect to Matt Hamill. And it would be a massive feather in the cap of Alex Pereira, who could then fight the winner of Cyril Gahn and Tom Aspinall. If Alex Pereira is now a heavyweight, it's free and clear for you, John. And I think the UFC, as you said, would want to make a big splash this year. There is no bigger splash they could make than Alex Pereira versus John Jones.
Raiders fans are rejoicing everywhere after meeting Saturday with Las Vegas and Arizona Seahawks offensive coordinator Klint Kubiak intends to try to work out a deal to become the next head coach of the Raiders. Now, some of the verbiage there is important from Adam Schefter as he says intends to try to work out. Let's make sure everybody knows he cannot officially sign a contract as the next head coach anywhere until after the Super Bowl. We've seen this in the past, but this means a coordinator is going to be hanging out, trying to figure out what all this looks like while he's getting ready for the Super Bowl, obviously. But it looks like the deal is all but done. Gary Kubiak going to be the head coach. Caroline.
Clint.
Sorry, Gary's son, Clint.
A lot of Kubiaks around here.
A lot of Kubiaks. Clint's going to be the head coach. I am beyond ecstatic. And this is what I would say to everybody. Like, we just talked to Andrew Siciliano about how it's a horse race, and everybody's watching Twitter every hour, and it's like, what's it mean? This guy's pulled out, this guy. When all of this started, when the entire coaching cycle started, 6 weeks ago, and everybody said, oh, who's your dream candidate? The number of people then that said Klint Kubiak. Now, we didn't know that Harbaugh was going to get canned. We didn't know that Tomlin was going to get canned. But we look across the entire landscape and look at how many, I think, significant jobs came open over the course of this offseason. Klint Kubiak had every opportunity to say, you know what? I want to go somewhere that has maybe a little bit more stable foundation. You know what? I want to go somewhere where I know my quarterback day one is ready to be a pro. I want to go somewhere where I can work with an MVP. He could have said any of that. The number of times Klint Kubiak could have decided that the right fit was not Vegas, I think is huge. So to go through this whole process and do it in a very calculated way. I love the fact that the Raiders talked to over 14 coaches. I love the fact that they brought in over a dozen coaches for in-person or Zoom interviews where they spent substantial time. I love the fact that it was calculated. Like, anybody can come in the room one day and win an interview. I know plenty of people that can win an interview that aren't qualified for the job. And I think the Raiders have had that happen to them multiple times in recent years where somebody won the interview and you feel so good, you got good feels on it. But Brady went into this with a real calculated approach. And I say Brady because the people that I've talked to that are tied in have made it clear he has been a loud voice in all of this. So I believe that that's a huge part of it. So what you've had is Kubiak with Sam Darnold and an offense that has shown its ability to be everything that we thought it could be, getting better and better and better throughout the course of the season. When their defense started to fail them, their offense stepped up. You see Kubiak's offense be absolutely unstoppable to talented defenses they play along the way. And you decide, you know what, I'm going to bring him in. And maybe the most important part of this, and I hope we find out that it is a very long deal that is very lucrative for Kubiak, because I want the Raiders to be forced to acknowledge that today is day one. I don't give a damn anymore about the past. I don't give a damn anymore about the last 5 years, 10 years. Hell, I don't care about the 80s and 90s. I don't care about the 70s. Everybody talks about the past of this franchise. I don't care. I care about how do I get to see quality Raiders football now. And the answer to that, to me, is getting a young head coach with an offensive mindset that knows, hey, I'm going to have to bring along Fernando Mendoza the right way. And I trust Klint Kubiak to do that. So to me, this was a statement about a long-term rebuild. This was a statement about understanding it's going to take a minute. And it was a statement about getting the right person in the room to develop what I think is unquestionably right now. I would bet every dollar I've ever made and ever will make that Fernando Mendoza will be the first pick in the draft. And on that day, I'm going to look at Fernando Mendoza and I'm going to look at Klint Kubiak and I'm going to say, you've married the timelines. You've figured out an organizational structure and you have finally done the simple thing. You have finally figured out how to make things competent in the organization. I have hope. We never know, but today I have hope that they've at least committed to the long-term process of changing the franchise.
And I love that you have hope, Fitzy, because that is what football fans deserve. Yes. And the crowd gets wild. Well, that's what football fans deserve. And that's what you should have whenever you're entering this new era of football. And you're right. It is a new day. It's a new era of Raiders football because we have seen several organizations go from the pits of the depths of hell in the NFL to the tippy top of glory in this league based off of one decision. I remember a time when the Chiefs were irrelevant in the National Football League. There was a long time between the greatest show on turf and this iteration of the Rams that we see now that are constantly knocking on the door of a Super Bowl. I lived it. I lived in St. Louis and grew up with horrific Rams teams. I mean, what was the difference for the Chiefs? Bringing in Andy Reid, bringing in Patrick Mahomes, bringing in Sean McVay for the Rams, drafting Joe Burrow, a long history of nothingness for the Cincinnati Bengals. Year 2 with Joe Burrow, they find themselves in the Super Bowl. Sometimes organizations and teams can be just 1 or 2 decisions, good decisions away from being terrible to being a Super Bowl contender. That's what I don't. Will Kubiak and Fernando Mendoza be that? I don't know. Anybody who claims that they do know is wrong. I don't know, but I can see the hope. I can see the glimmer of hope. I can see you piecing the puzzle pieces together to say this is our ticket to being a contender in the NFL. What I love about the Kubiak hire is that Klint Kubiak owns the offense in Seattle. I'm always leery of hiring offensive coordinators that didn't call plays. Now, you can look at a long list of Sean McVay assistants who have gone on to be incredibly successful head coaches in the league. I could also show you Brian Callahan, who didn't call plays in Cincinnati and fizzled out within a year and a half with the Tennessee Titans. I love that Klint Kubiak had total and complete ownership of the offense, still does, in Seattle. He was able to bring Sam Darnold into this guy who, sure, is he a renaissance project, but we still have questions about him. Now he's leading his team to the Super Bowl. That gives me so much more belief in Klint Kubiak and his ability to own a team, to be in charge of the team in its entirety, because he's already owned one side of the ball.
Yeah, I think your point is a great one. And then I look at what it all means for Fernando, right? And how much have we talked already about Fernando Mendoza? And the more I see the interviews with him, the more you just realize that there's one thing that really matters to this guy. Like, there's one thing that Fernando Mendoza truly cares about, and that's football. I guess football, family, and God. Those are the things, the tenets we've all taken from Fernando. Even watching some of the joking interviews that he's done, where he's just, he's oblivious to everything other than, I want to be great at this thing. And yeah, that's going to be difficult. I've seen all the jokes where he's like, hey, I got addicted to winning. It's my new drug, basically. And everybody say, well, get used to the opposite. I get that. But the real way you break culture, in my mind, change culture, is you bring in people that can establish something new and different. Fernando Mendoza just seems built different. Like, there are very few times that I watch somebody and I think, you know what, they're built to handle it. There are interesting distractions in certain cities, Miami, Vegas, Nashville. Like, there are certain cities that I think present a lot of opportunity for people to go off the rails. And wealth presents so much opportunity for the same exact thing. Fernando's going to be in Vegas, and he's going to be generationally wealthy overnight. I don't think I've seen a kid come out of college in a long time that I feel more confident can handle that. I don't know if he's going to be a great quarterback, but I know he's going to do the work. I know he's going to be addicted to the process. I know he's going to bust his ass to do everything he possibly can. And that, I think that's a huge part of it. And even for Klint Kubiak, same thing. Like, you've got somebody that, his brother's an offensive coordinator. His dad is a very famous coach. He grew up around offense. It's like Gary Kubiak's offense has absolutely influenced the modern NFL that we see today. It takes one. The Houston Texans were a job nobody wanted until DeMeco Ryans took it. And it was a team that was never going to be successful until that same year they went out and they drafted a quarterback and an edge rusher that changed that franchise forever. I think that's the hope every franchise has, but particularly this year when you're picking first in the draft and you see a quarterback and a coach, I feel alignment. And that's just the power that comes from that.
And it is refreshing. We can always make fun of Fernando Mendoza's demeanor and his personality. He has such a jovial approach to everything. I think that's going to be a refreshing perspective to have in the Raiders locker room. And you pair his just need to win. It's not even I want to win. Winning is important. He said, I am addicted to success. That sounds very Brady-esque to me. To have Brady, who's going to be having a much more vocal voice in the decisions that are being made with the Raiders organization, paired with a quarterback who is addicted to winning, wants to win so badly, like on a cellular level. I think the Raiders need that. I also love Klint Kubiak's offensive system for a young quarterback. He wants to run the football. He wants to utilize play action. That takes a lot off of a young quarterback's plate. And you have a running back, that you drafted in the first round last year in Ashton Genty. I think that's going to be a great pairing. Fitz, Get him an offensive line.
Oh, yeah.
I need Fernando Mendoza to have an offensive line that keeps him upright like I need water. Klint Kubiak's going to have the pieces and the money and the draft picks to be able to do that, but I'm excited about this pairing.
Second most cap space going into this offseason with over $100 million available. So they'll have the money if the players are there that are worth it. All right, plenty to break down as we are live together in person in San Francisco all week getting ready for the Super Bowl. Coming up next, we'll get you caught up on some of the huge changes that have been made from coordinators across the league and some breaking news on a contract extension you don't want to miss.
Kirby may not win another national title. I think he's the best head coach in college football right now. So it sounds kind of like an oxymoron. It's not. Well, it's possible I'm wrong that he's the best. But even if I'm right that he is the best, yeah, it's possible that he won 2 of them back-to-back years, and that's it. That's what Dabo Swinney did. He won a couple, and then I don't think Dabo will ever win another national title. What does that mean? It means he's one of the best to ever do it, and he's a Hall of Famer. That's what it means for Dabo Swinney.
All right, so let's talk about fights we want to see 2026. GC, you just gave us a nice little teaser there, so why don't you go first?
My concrete one, my number one that I want to see is still remaining Ilia Topuria versus Islam Makhachev. Whether it's at 170, whether it's Islam going down to 155, the star power that these two guys have with the run that Islam is on, with the undefeated record of Ilia Topuria, it's just a match that I am craving more than any other.
Isaiah Stewart is underrated, Sharp. Way underrated. 37% from three. It's a really good pick. People think about Isaiah Stewart as this tough guy who can shoot, good at rim finisher and all that too. But in reality this year, he's become a all defensive player candidate. He's become a great switch defender. Isaiah Stewart, one of the most underrated players in the whole league.
The NFL's so brutal, man. It's such a brutal. I thought to myself when Jonathan Gannon got fired, I thought, did they not just wish him a happy birthday? They did.
Hey.
They wished him a happy birthday, and then they fired him on the same day. So that's the NFL, folks. That hook is real. It's out there.
Yeah. I mean, it's bad. It's bad to be fired. He does, however, get a lovely parting gift.
Welcome back to Yahoo Sports Daily. Some breaking news this morning from the Los Angeles Rams. Here to stay with the ever always amazing handshake emoji. We've signed extensions with head coach Sean McVay and GM Les Snead. The Les Snead's part of this, I think, is none of this is surprising at all. But Caroline, I think one thing that we should at least keep in mind is that we're not that far removed from conversations that were being had about whether or not Sean McVay wanted to walk away, whether or not he wanted to spend more time with kids, like things we've talked about openly on this show. What's the future of Sean McVay? We just got a very clear answer from the Rams on what that future is.
And there was some concern, or just at least conversation or discussion. If Aaron Donald decided to walk away, would Sean McVay also entertain that as well? But he talked this past offseason and said it felt pretty crazy to think about a world without coaching football, and this is just confirmation for that. Now, if you're a Rams fan, I think you can kind of breathe a sigh of relief in that, right? But there's still a question mark moving forward of what this Rams team future looks like. What does Matthew Stafford's future look like? And everything that I've heard from anyone who has been a coach or a general manager in football has said, if you're talking to a player who's aging, who's in that kind of era of his career, you say, take as much time as you need. Take the kids, take the wife, go to Cabo, go to the Bahamas, go enjoy, go to the beach, go just take some time to reflect. Because I'm sure Matthew Stafford right now is thinking, that was a grind of a season. I'm banged up, I'm exhausted, I'm hurt, I'm emotionally and just physically drained. Take some time. Don't make a rash decision, but I do think that Rams fans will be waiting with bated breath for what Matthew Stafford's future is, but at least they do have some certainty of what their head coach's future looks like.
I think that's the biggest key, Caroline, because at some point for me, when I look at this, it's all about making sure that if Matthew Stafford decides, I'm done, I don't want to play anymore, then what? At least you know now, all right, the coach and GM aren't going anywhere. Yeah. So whatever, now I think we get a bigger picture with the long-term extension for both, that the Rams are going to have to start making long-term plans at the quarterback position. I think that's part of why you do all this right now, to assure everybody involved, hey, there's nothing's going to change for us. We're going to make sure that this franchise continues to run with the same level of stability. It's just we need to make sure that we've got coach and GM locked up for whatever the future looks like at the quarterback position, because even if Stafford comes back for a year, we're year to year at this point. Every year is going to be a new question mark about what the future of the position is until they can successfully address it in the draft or with a young free agent that can come in. All right, speaking of coaching moves across the league, we had a lot of coordinator movement over the course of the weekend, which everybody sort of falls in love with now, right? Everybody either loves or hates their coordinator right away. So let's look at some of these that we're taking a look at right now. Let's start with the Giants, all right? The Giants widely regarded either way, as maybe the best of the openings, right? Everybody fell in love. Jackson Dart, Malik Neighbors, Scadaboo, like all of these pieces, plus a lot of defensive talent. Harbaugh gets in, and now we're trying to figure out who the coordinator is going to be. And reports are that Harbaugh is trying to decide at this point between former Titans head coach Brian Callahan and former Commanders offensive coordinator Cliff Kingsbury. Caroline, this might be the only time I've ever heard these two names in the same sentence.
Yeah, Fitz, I know that you are on a health journey, but if I offered you a big, delicious chocolate ice cream sundae or a steaming pile of boiled broccoli, the decision's pretty clear, right? And this is kind of what these two coordinators, these two options kind of view to me. I look at Cliff Kingsbury, and I think that he would make 32 teams in the National Football League better. He would have been my pick. If I was in charge with the Baltimore Ravens, I would have hired Cliff Kingsbury. He's a very well-respected, widely regarded offensive mind. And then you look at Brian Callahan, who I just talked about, fizzled out with the Tennessee Titans, did not have total and complete ownership in Cincinnati. I mean, the quarterbacks that Brian Callahan has worked with are Peyton Manning and Joe Burrow. Does your job pretty well. So I think it's Cliff Kingsbury. I don't even really think it's close. I'm shocked it's come down to these two, especially with the Giants when you have a coach in John Harbaugh, who your defensive and offensive coordinators will have total and complete ownership of those sides of the ball. John Harbaugh's coordinators are just as impactful as John Harbaugh is himself as a leader in that organization and in that locker room. So to me, it would be Cliff Kingsbury, and it's not even close. I don't even know why this is a discussion.
The fact that Callahan is even in this discussion is why he should be sending an ice cream sundae a day for the rest of Joe Burrow's life to Joe Burrow.
I don't know who his agent is.
Yeah, it's like, huzzah, congratulations, give the governor a harumph. But there's no way that those two are in the same category to me. Let's look at another one. Speaking of former head coaches, Raheem Morris will now replace Robert Saleh in San Francisco as the new defensive coordinator. This feels to me like its path, right? Like we talked earlier with Siciliano about the fact that Mike McDaniel's on this career rehab path. You go to a great quarterback and you go to a great system under a head coach that everybody widely respects, and boom, all of a sudden, this feels like the same thing. If you're Raheem Morris, you go back, you remind everybody how great you are as a defensive coordinator on a team where you don't have to take care of anything else.
Yeah, I always view, Kyle Shanahan, Sean McVay on the NFL level as like Nick Saban on the college level. You lose your job, you go to the Nick Saban School of Rehabilitation for Coaches. That this is your opportunity to take a step back, take a year off, take a couple years off, and then get right back into the head coaching pool a couple of years later. I do have a question mark, though, about this hire. Look at Raheem Morris and his 3 seasons with the Rams. They ranked 19th, 22nd, and 15th in his 3 years in total defense. They gave up about 5.5 yards per play in his 3 years with the Rams. The Rams won that Super Bowl in 2021 to whatever season that was because of what they did offensively. Raheem Morris's defenses in Atlanta were inconsistent, looked great at times. Like we saw the Atlanta defense fly around against the Bills this past season, but then we saw games where the defense just kind of looked like they were taking a vacation. So I do have a question mark about what Raheem Morris is able to do, especially considering the injuries and the age that San Francisco has defensively.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's the one thing that is truly interesting about selecting that job. Because certainly when you're on Kyle Shanahan's staff, you know the offense is going to be great.
Yeah, taking care of it.
You're in San Francisco, you know that you're going to win a lot of football games. That's what they are. That's what they do. I am a little curious in the selection of the job just because, as you mentioned, age and injury have become just a part of the conversation. Like, we can't have a Chargers conversation without talking about injuries because no matter who the head coach is, they're depleted. The 49ers in the last 5 years have become the exact same damn thing. So, I'm looking at a 49ers team, and I'm thinking, okay, Robert Saleh this year, part of the reason he got so much love was he was making chicken salad constantly, right? Just changing parts every week, different pieces out for the season all the time. Games lost to injury through the roof. All the superstars they thought they could depend on were out at different points, and they couldn't get any continuity, and he still put together a competitive defense. I mean, there is a little bit here. I'm looking around and I'm thinking Raheem Morris is going to be walking right into that sort of a situation. That's part of who the 49ers are. Some teams you could just say, hey, we were unlucky this year, had a lot of injuries. All right, we're fine. That's who the 49ers have become over the last several years. So I do think it's an interesting, at least look at, you're going to be on a competitive team, going to win a lot of football games. But, boy, you're going to be working hard for every single ounce of what you can squeeze out of that thing.
And the expectations in San Francisco aren't going anywhere. The expectations every single year are you are a Super Bowl contender. And so I think there's two sides of that. If you're Raheem Morris, you want to be in that kind of situation. You want to be in a team that has high expectations. Because when you are a coordinator on a team that's a Super Bowl contender, well, that just makes you that much more of an attractive head coaching candidate moving forward. But also, that doesn't give you a whole lot of wiggle room. That doesn't give you a whole lot of time to take a step back, to breathe a little bit. No. You're walking in right now into a magnifying glass of an organization.
I mean, speaking of not a lot of wiggle room, we could say the same thing about everything that happens with the Ravens right now. All eyes on the Ravens. They hired Declan Doyle to be their offensive coordinator. 29 years old. It's a lateral move for Doyle where he was the offensive coordinator for the Bears. And the Bears obviously allowed him to go to the situation where he'll be the new offensive coordinator under Jesse Minter in Baltimore. I think I stress the Bears angle of this because a lot of people are coming in and saying, well, look at the Bears. It came in from Ben Johnson. Yeah, I get that. But, like, Ben Johnson looked at the situation and was like, no, we're good. You go ahead. Like, there is a little element of if we're going – Declan does not have a long resume at this point of tremendous success everywhere else. He's young. He's young in this process. He's a young head coach. But I do think it's at least curious when the guy that we're now regarding as one of those 3 or 4 elite offensive minds is like, no, I can run my offense with somebody else. Go, call plays, have a great time, work with Lamar. Like, I think that is a statement to what they're getting with the Ravens.
I don't know how to feel about people my age getting head coaching jobs or coaching jobs in general in the NFL. I feel like the crypt keeper.
Just imagine when you're my age and you're telling athletes that they're too old to play and they're younger than you are. That's a beautiful thing.
Man, that's what I have to look forward to.
It happens.
The future is bleak. I don't know anything about Declan Doyle, and I would be lying if I said that I had a long history and some, really strong take about what he is going to be or what he can be. I don't know. I don't know the answer to that question. Like you said, we have a very, very limited sample size of a 29-year-old taking this job in the NFL. Another one where he steps into with massive expectations. It is Super Bowl or bust in Baltimore. And it should be. When you have a 2-time, could have been a 3-time MVP in Lamar Jackson, your Super Bowl window is open right now, and you want to capitalize on it immediately. I do think it's fascinating, though. I mean, the NFL is a copycat league. We know that. It feels like the new trend in the NFL is trying to find the next Sean McVay. Who is our next young offensive mastermind? I think Mike McDonald has kind of filled into that mold on the defensive side of the ball. Is the Ben Johnson tree becoming the new Sean McVay coaching tree? Ben Johnson's that next up-and-coming, young, offensive, innovative mind. Declan Doyle comes from that tree. So is the Ben Johnson tree the next Sean McVay one?
I mean, why not?
Yeah.
And at some point, with that in mind, you're right. Like, it just feels more and more like teams want to take a chance on somebody a little early to try and see who they can bring in the room and maybe they can energize. Like, we hear energize all the time as something that we talk about for coaching prospects. And there is an energy. There's a different level of energy when you're a 29-year-old that's moving into that position. Or, if you're a head coach that's in your early 30s and it's your first spot at it. Like, I do think you probably bring a different level of energy to all of it. Now, I also think that there's value to learning and being around a bunch of head coaches and knowing what you don't know. And that's pretty impossible to do when you've only been coaching for a few years. But it does feel like teams would rather grow through mistakes. The only thing about that is that's what we say right now. But we're seeing shorter and shorter leashes with every single team on who they hire. So you're hiring early. To me, if you're hiring younger, but you're giving more time to grow, I have no problem with that. That's not what's happening. No. They're hiring younger, and they're still firing quickly if they don't like the results. So it's not like you're making it to year 4, and they're saying, well, he was a little too young, just needed some time to get seasoning. Like, damned if you do and damned if you don't. No different than the quarterback conversation. Like, we keep saying, well, how much was Lamar in the room for these conversations, much like we talked about Josh Allen. I don't know what the right answer on all of that is. Like, to me, you want your quarterback to be part of the decision, but also if you don't pick the guy that your quarterback wants, have you just alienated your quarterback? Like, it's a very weird spot to be in right now when you have teams with head coaching and offensive coordinator openings that have landmark like players that the league is built on. How much voice do you give them? I don't know what the right answer is.
And you want to keep your star player happy, but what's the seat at the table that feels appropriate? And to your point about the Ravens, they don't have 4 years. They don't have time to figure it out. They don't have time to let him learn and make his mistake. No. Like, you need to win right now. I would say the exact same thing about the Cincinnati Bengals. I would say the exact same thing about the Buffalo Bills. You are in a window right now to capitalize on your elite quarterback now that you're in this kind of window. Declan Doyle doesn't have time to figure it out. Declan Doyle doesn't have the opportunity, the privilege of being able to get baptized by fire and make mistakes and learn throughout the process. The expectation is perfection. The expectation is Super Bowl. Is he ready for that? What does that relationship between he and Lamar look like? They're both 29 years old. Yeah. They're contemporaries.
And to your point, the complication of Lamar's contract too, they want to try and work something out long-term that helps save some money. Will he want to do that? There's just so many variables right now in Baltimore. That's why it's interesting, because you want to steady the ship, but you also want to make the changes that will get you to the spot that you couldn't get to recently, all while trying to keep Lamar and what I think is still an overall very talented roster happy. And to your point, Derrick Henry ain't getting younger. Yeah. Like, that offense looked really, really good when they fed Derrick Henry, but that gets tougher and tougher to do. So it feels like there are some organizations that are making sweeping changes to help their future, but can you help your future and also accomplish your right now at the same time? I don't know. I do know that we're only a few minutes away from getting into some of the big NBA headlines, but coming up next, the Pro Bowl is changing again. Is it dead? Are we all done with this thing? I'll tell you a surprising answer to that next.
Have you ever seen such a lopsided turnout?
I'd say it sounded like an Indiana home game, but it's probably louder than an Indiana home game because the way Indiana Stadium is built is not to keep the sound in. What I'm curious about is it louder than when the Falcons are really good, one of their home games? I'm guessing
we don't have a data point on that, Andy.
I know. I was walking you into that, Falcons fan Stephen Godfrey.
But the Brady part of this is the most interesting thing. He's kind of a part-timer there. And there's no proof of concept that Tom Brady knows how to conduct a coaching search. He was a great quarterback. This is a completely different job. Like, I don't know, other than he's a big name and Mark Davis loves big names. The Raiders went out of their way today to mention that Tom Brady's going to be part of the search. Why? So Mark Davis could sit back and say, yeah, Tom Brady, that's my guy.
I want to see Petr Yan back, and I'm okay with if Merab is the next fight. But at some point, hopefully in 2026, maybe later, I do want to see Sean O'Malley versus Petr Yan. And I believe I had that last year. This fight has to happen at some point. I love this fight so much.
When you did speak about it last year, Yan was nowhere near.
He wasn't
the
even in the
picture.
yeah.
All you said was you want to see a 5-round fight between the two of them.
It's a great one.
I want to start with this disclaimer. I criticize because I care. I look at Florida State and I think Bobby Bowden, I think Peter Warrick, I think Jameis Winston, I think national titles. But you look at Florida State right now, across their own state, they're falling behind. The nature of the beast is this thing has gone sour at Florida State and it's not working. But if you care, you make drastic moves. If you care, you pay the price of caring. And the price of caring here, for my money, is buying out Mike Norvell to $58 million.
Albert Breer tweets out, my take, the NFL's effort to monetize it destroyed it. When it was in Hawaii, it was a convention for star players away from the normal media attention of the season. Peyton Manning used to hold court at the pool and counsel guys. That draw is now gone, so it's a big zero. He's talking about the NFL Pro Bowl. And for any of you not paying attention, the Pro Bowl is now going to be Tuesday nights, flag football game. There's all sorts of chaos with it. There's corgi races at halftime, which I cannot wait for. But here's the reality of it. Albert Breer echoing a sentiment that the Pro Bowl is dead. Here's what I would say to Albert and to everybody else that claims the Pro Bowl is dead. It's been dead for a long time, Caroline. I mean, we're talking generations of just worthlessness when it comes to all-star games. I think this is just a media guy that's unhappy. No offense, Albert. No offense at all. Unhappy you don't get to go to Hawaii. That's what it really comes down to. Like, you don't want to just sit there and spend time with the game that's a waste. I've looked it up. The ratings decline every year. We talk about this. Still about 5 million people watched it last year. But, Caroline, again, I always tell you I'm going to be the old man, and we've talked about this before with the NBA. I grew up in an era where Sunday Ticket didn't exist. I grew up in an era where, as a Raiders fan, my only shot to see them when I lived out of market was to wait for the 10-minute ticker to come up on NBC and tell me the scores. And I would wait till Sunday night to watch the George Michael Sports Machine to see the highlights. It was the only chance I got. I bought the USA Today because I might get a write-up on the Raiders game and a picture. Like, I used to have to call a hotline to find out the scores. Like, that's real world. And I'm not like, I mean, I'm old, but I ain't that old. Like, I think what we've lost is that all-star games, the Pro Bowl, any of them, they can't matter anymore because now you see all of these players every Sunday on Sunday Ticket. Like, you see all these players on Red Zone. We're constantly inundated with the greats playing all the time. So whether we're talking about the Pro Bowl or the NBA all-star game right around the corner, like, it used to mean something to see Magic versus Michael. You're like, I'm never going to see this. Now you see every single game, every single night. Like, I just think there's an inevitability that all-star games don't really matter anymore. And the people that are really upset about it are the people that don't get free trips to Hawaii.
Valid. Fair. I'm upset that I don't get a free trip to Hawaii. I never did, but I'm upset that I don't have one. I also think we have so much more access to athletes now that maybe if there was like some going back and forth during the Pro Bowl, that was the only time that we got to see two great players really go out. No, we can see it on Twitter every single day. So the access that we never used to have exists on a daily basis, so much so that we probably take it for granted. I think what makes the Pro Bowls, all-star games great are what the NFL is never going to do. I look at the Four Nations face-off in the NHL. It was awesome. Everyone was tuned into it because there was a certain sense of care and a certain sense of physicality that those games were played with, that it was intoxicating. We wanted to watch it. It was like the Olympics. It was playing for country pride. USA versus Canada, one of the greatest rivalries that we have in the sport of hockey. We got to see that in the middle of the NHL season, and it was awesome. The NFL is not going to add that level of physicality into the Pro Bowl. Why would they do that? They have way too much money tied up into their star players to risk injury at a game that means absolutely positively nothing. It's the entire reason why we have flag football and the same events that you have at an elementary school field day at the Pro Bowl, because it's not worth it to anybody to risk their bodies and to risk injury, knock on wood. So everything that would make the Pro Bowl awesome is something that the NFL would never do or never go back to.
Well, and something that most fans wouldn't truly want, because what I don't want to see is, my favorite team's quarterback knocked out for the next season in the Pro Bowl. That being said, while you were talking, I never thought I'd say this. This just came to me as you spoke. I think I have figured out a way to make the Pro Bowl interesting. I cannot believe it. I have figured it out.
Corgi races?
No, well, corgi races, obviously. Like, I'm all in on corgi races. Instead, no disrespect, but slight disrespect to everybody else. Big Ten versus SEC. You make an all-star team of former Big Ten athletes versus an all-star team of former SEC athletes. You put them on the field. You let them play, and all of a sudden, my conference is better than your conference, brought to the NFL level with a bunch of all-stars from each of them. Yes, that's not inclusive enough of guys that played quarterback at Wyoming. I get it. But if we're already looking at a Pro Bowl that includes Shedeur Sanders and includes Joe Flacco, it should be noted, this year is the first Pro Bowl for Joe Flacco. Like, I spent years listening to radio debates about whether Joe Flacco is elite, and now all of a sudden this is the first year. So, like, look, we already leave a ton of players out. So I'm sorry, everybody from the ACC, the Big 12, and the rest of the league. Give me Big 10 versus SEC, and all of a sudden you're going to have a bunch of people that don't even like the NFL tuning into that thing. The numbers go through the roof, trash talking everywhere. I have fixed the Pro Bowl. Roger, call me.
I don't hate that. You just came up with that just now.
While you were talking about Four Nations, I was sitting here thinking we can't Four Nations. The NFL, almost everybody in the NFL is from one nation. So how do you figure out how to make Four Nations? What's the great divide? Like, the reason Four Nation works is because you spend a minute, you spend a national pride for Canada means something when we talk about this. For U.S. hockey, we're about to see this in the Olympics. People that don't watch the NHL will flock to it. Sweden's going to care about Four Nations, right? How do you create that level of pride in the NFL? College football.
Okay, let's workshop this on the spot.
Yeah.
Who would be these two? Because you bring up Wyoming. When has Wyoming ever produced a good quarterback?
I've never heard of him.
Kidding. Joe Burrow, Jamar Chase, Justin Jefferson.
That's all on one
team.
That's all on one team.
Big Ten, you got JSN. Who's quarterback in the Big Ten team?
That's a good question. Okay, so the Big Ten quarterback might be a little bit more difficult.
This is
C.J. Stroud.
C.J. Stroud
After the year he just had.
SEC waxing.
Okay, but that's where
It just means more.
Again, we get the SEC waxing. We're in for this thing. Like the SEC waxing is only going to fuel the fire. Like Kirk Cousins this year out of Michigan State would turn around and be a Pro Bowl quarterback. Come on.
I get Joe Burrow, Jamar Chase, Justin Jefferson, Jameer Gibbs, Derrick Henry.
Okay, this is a slaughter. Look, I haven't suggested a fair game.
Pat Surtain on the defensive side of the ball.
Caroline, you're worried about the outcome. I'm worried about one thing. Would people watch? Oh, my God.
I'm excited about it. Just 100%. The idea of it. I'm already drafting my team.
Yeah,
because they're not going to do that because it wouldn't even be interesting because they would, what they would be doing is playing hopscotch.
I mean, the
tetherball.
If you gave me college football conferences in elite random competitions, I'd be in for it. I think it all speaks to the fact that just, like, if we're honest, Shedeur being in the Pro Bowl this year was just that moment. It's the lightning rod. Everybody clicks on Shedeur. Everybody talks about Shedeur. So the fact that Shedeur is in the Pro Bowl when clearly he wasn't a Pro Bowl caliber quarterback becomes the newest reason to hate on Shedeur. I don't hate on Shedeur for it. I just think it's a reminder of how pointless the game is. It's pointless to the players. It's pointless to the fans. If you watch it, you watch it. Like, you're fine. Most people don't. And I don't think that there's anything they can do in this broken system to make it interesting unless they can give you bragging stakes, trash talking stakes. And one thing we ask almost every NFL player that we interview at some point is, who do you trash talk on Saturdays? That's why I come back to it. But the reality of it is, we're talking about all of this because Shedeur is in the Pro Bowl, and that just doesn't make sense. It just speaks to a broken system.
It doesn't make sense, and it hasn't made sense for a very long time. I mean, we've had Gardner Minshew. We've had, quarterbacks that have don't carry the same amount of weight as we've had quarterbacks in the past carry into the Pro Bowl. I do have a question, too, of how much urgency does the NFL feel to make the Pro Bowl matter?
They don't.
The NBA wants the All-Star game to matter, but I think the NFL is totally content with making it a supplementary event during Super Bowl week and nothing more.
Now, all the Pro Bowl really has to do is outrate whatever else would be shown on a Tuesday night on ESPN, which it will do. I mean, last year, again, 5 million viewers, which is better than they're getting for a random college basketball. So, but I'd be watching for this. I'm only watching for the corgi races. Look at this.
See, like,
I'm all in. Yep. Like, just boom. All of a sudden, you get like corgis on one side, and then I don't know how you keep them together.
You don't. You know what? You just let them do their thing, and that's okay.
Look at them. Oh, come on. No.
Oh,
all right.
They just want to.
Look, I'll tell you this. I've seen the little stumps corgi races. Those, man, they were, I think, half the league this year. Those, elite. I'm just trying to get a pass to the corgi races for the Pro Bowl. All right. This is obviously a huge week for this show because we are together in San Francisco for the Super Bowl. But also, for everybody that's watching, this is a huge week for the NBA because the trade deadline is only days away. So, in the way only we can, live and in person, we're going to get you caught up on what you need to know, what might be coming down the pipeline, and we're going to do it with two of the best experts in all the land coming up next.
What is the argument in your eyes for Cam Boozer as the first pick in the draft?
His game is just really resilient. And, with all the concerns about some of his verticality or the burst, whatever it may be, he's been incredibly productive.
It's just hard to look at Boozer and argue against the level of production from him at every single level, while he's also continued to get better at add more to his game.
And the knock against Oregon is that they've always been a step away from national championship caliber.
Dan Lanning has to build a more complete roster. And, we can say, oh, he took all this from Kirby Smart. Well, none of what he learned from Kirby Smart actually applies anymore. He's got to do it in this era. They're still good. They're still going to be there every year. He's got to have that one right mix that comes together. And I think it will.
Jaylen Brown, what are Ronnie's on, was?
I think he's earned the right to pound his chest at this point. There's just no two ways about it. And the truth of the matter is Jaylen Brown is playing like a superstar. There's no qualifications here. Like this guy is playing like one of the best players in the NBA. He's getting it done on both ends of the court.
My fight that I need to see next year is Alex Pereira versus John Jones. The history is the fact that Alex Pereira could be the first one to defeat John Jones, all due respect to Matt Hamill. And it would be a massive feather in the cap of Alex Pereira, who could then fight the winner of Cyril Gane and Tom Aspinall. If Alex Pereira is now a heavyweight, it's free and clear for you, John. And I think the UFC, as you said, would want to make a big splash this year. There is no bigger splash they could make than Alex Pereira versus John Jones.
Breaking news, we got a trade in the NBA. Yeah, no, it's not Giannis. It's not Ja. No, it's not Zion. But the Cavs are trading DeAndre Hunter to the Kings for Dennis Schroeder and Keon Ellis as part of a 3-team deal with the Bulls. You see the details there. We're going to break all of this down now with a couple of our favorites. Dan Titus to my right, Nick Friedell to my left. Look, it feels good. We're four wide. I feel like we're like straight up an Avengers movie now. Like we're ready. I don't know who's who, but I just feel like we're this wide, this powerful. We're going to do a lot. You guys are going to be with us for a minute, so let's have a little bit of fun. And let's get into this. Obviously, let's start with this one. As I look at the document to remind us where we're starting. Nick, let's start with you. Could that trade, in your mind, have been the precursor to something else?
We'll see. The first thing I think when I see that trade Fitz is, what the hell are the Kings doing? But that's a constant question for everybody. But I don't see it leading into much more. But the deadline is there for a reason. We'll see in the next couple days.
Yeah, I think my take is the Kings are just doing Kings things. They are a mess, but I guess the silver lining is they kind of cleared up their guard room a little bit, but they just got more money. Why are you taking on more money when you have all these vets? It makes no sense. So at this point, you can only expect that the Kings are going to have to trade one of Domantas Sabonis, DeMar DeRozan, or potentially Malik Monk. Is that going to happen? That market isn't that great right now. So I don't know. This is a very interesting trade. They said that they're all in on DeAndre Hunter. I think that's interesting. He has his injury concerns. He hasn't been playing well for the Cleveland Cavaliers. So I don't know. You got to be scratching your head if you're a Kings fan, as usual.
Look at the Cavs side of it real quick, though. Like, let me be callous for a second. What's the point? Like, what can the Cavs actually do this year that will make the Cavs better this year?
It's a great point, but they at least got a little bit closer to getting under the second apron, and that's what's key for them. They can't carry this luxury tax for this much longer. They're going into next season. They just saved $50 million. This allows them, if they trade Max Strus or one other player, they might be maybe Dennis Schroeder, who they just acquired. It might be crazy, but it could happen. At that point, they could get under the apron. They might actually be able to make a move that might be more significant. I don't know if it's going to get you a Giannis type move, but it could get you a little bit closer. It just gives you a little bit more cap flexibility.
If you're the Cavs, does anybody really believe that the Cavs can actually get to where they want to go? That's what worries me. When you're watching what the Cavs have done, you need that next piece. I think Dan is right. It's all money, but I still am not buying the Cavs until we're standing in Cleveland watching another parade.
It's fair. It's fair, but the trade news was not the only news that we got over the weekend. We've had playoff P, podcast P, and now PEDP.
Oh, that's crazy.
Because it was broken over the weekend that Paul George will serve a 25-game suspension, violating the league's anti-doping policy. What does this mean for the Sixers? Jan, we'll start with you.
I think this means for the Sixers, it's a rough point. It's not good. He is their best on-ball defender. He's their best perimeter defender. But again, there's a silver lining here. The Sixers were in tax trouble, and now they're able to save money from the suspension, which is kind of weird. They had two players that were rotational guys, in Dominic Barlow and the other name escapes me. Dominic Barlow and it'll come to me. But now they're able to convert them to two-way deals. So that's an important thing for them long-term. But if you're looking forward, Podcast P was playing very well. Obviously had some assistance there. You got to see what it's going to look like coming out of this. But at least he's going to have 10 more games to get acclimated right before the playoffs. If Joel Embiid can stay healthy, who knows with the Sixers team?
There's a problem, though. I have never bought the Sixers because I've never believed that Embiid can do it.
Yeah.
And his body continues just kind of break down. He has moments, y'all, where you go, oh, he's still in there. I don't see it happening for Philly. This is just another sign. If you're that group, I know Maxey has looked good. They have some young pieces. I don't buy the core being able to get it done.
Can I just be a jerk for a second, though? I get that he comes out and says very clearly, mental health is something that's important to me, blah, 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 blah. I keep reiterating this because in every sport, there's a guy that works for the team, and you can take whatever you're putting in your body to said team, and they will analyze it. So, and that can come down to every time you get a new bottle of supplements, take one to the make sure that they test it. Like, for him to come out and say, well, mental health is important to me, I respect that, and I think it's really important that we have those open conversations. I don't like somebody coming out and saying mental health, without acknowledging that there is a very clear set play system in place that could have prevented this entire thing. Like, Paul George is suspended because of Paul George, not because of the medications he took. That's my soapbox.
Fitz, all I can tell you is that your soapbox was living in my cell phone the last couple days. Everybody in the NBA was like, mental health is very important. Why are you trying to cross what's going on? Everybody's got their strategy, and we'll see how that one plays out.
Yeah, I didn't like that from a PR standpoint. It's like, come on, man. Like, I appreciate that you're trying to be accountable for this, but in the guise of mental health, when you know what you're putting in your body, slippery slope, man. Slippery slope.
It feels like it almost dilutes the message.
Yeah.
Like, you can't just use it as a scapegoat 100%. For the rule that you broke. But we also got even more news over the weekend. LeBron James will be a reserve for the All-Star game.
News updates.
Kawhi Leonard not even a reserve for the All-Star game. Nick, what's the bigger surprise in your opinion?
Well, it's not that LeBron made it, because you knew that some wheels were going to get greased somewhere
Death
for him to be.
LeBron.
I mean, there was no way LeBron wasn't going to be in that game somehow. I figured it would be Adam Silver saying, hey, we're going to make a place for you. He made it. If Kawhi had been healthy before and had been this Kawhi in the last few years leading up to it, I don't think there's any question. I think he's getting dinged a little bit because he hasn't been the guy everybody thought he could be. I just saw him a couple weeks ago in L.A., though, y'all. He is awesome again. And no matter what on the All-Star game, if he can stay healthy, the Clippers are going to be a problem in the playoffs.
He's played 4 more games than LeBron. I'm just tired of this participation trophy for LeBron. Like, I get it. He started for 21 straight years. That is awesome. It's going to record, never going to be touched. 22nd appearance. He's led All-Star voting 10 years. No one's touching that record. But clearly, fans are getting tired. We're getting the LeBron fatigue. To just give him a roster spot over Alperen Şengün, over who's the other guy I was thinking of? Either way, Alperen Şengün, Kawhi Leonard. Come on, man. Like, I think great point. There were several other options that could have been considered. I even put Stephon Castle over him because he's been more impactful for what San Antonio's doing with Wemby than LeBron is doing for the Lakers. So, I'm just over it, but I get it.
Isn't there a spot, though? Like, I'm just imagining from LeBron's standpoint. Like, if I tonight am sitting in my hotel room and I pull up Instagram and all of a sudden I see the entire Yahoo staff is out at dinner somewhere and they're all posting these great pictures, and I text, I'm like, wait. No, we forgot. Come on. Like, this late second edition, like a sympathy ad for LeBron. How when that comes across, is it insulting or are you?
Oh, it's all ego, because remember, if LeBron wanted to really care about the All-Star game, he would have played last year.
I was about to say,
he would have stood out there on the floor and been like, hey guys, I'll take a pass and a couple shots. He didn't want to do that. He got there and was like, I'm out. So it's all performative. But the reason LeBron's in the game is because of what LeBron has done for the league for so many years.
Do either of you believe that there's a level of punishment happening here to Kawhi for aspiration?
That is a great question. I hope not, but it is kind of weird that you have the ambassador of the team for Intuit Dome not in the game. So maybe there is some quiet conversations behind the scenes that could be impacting, how you want to market the All-Star game in L.A.
If Kawhi had been healthy and playing the way he's been playing, I don't think there's any question. I don't buy all the tree stuff, but it's not going anywhere until they finally make a ruling at some point. Right.
Oh, God, the NBA is so perfect. The fact that we're talking about tree planting is just so good. Do we think Kawhi cares?
No.
Do we think LeBron cares that he's
Not at all.
in the All-Star game? Like, isn't that an issue with the All-Star game? None of these guys even care if they're included or excluded.
It's just crazy because, to Nick's point, it's like LeBron had a chance to play last year as a starter, and he was just like a late scratch. He could have had that roster spot could have been someone else's. He cared so little that he was like, nah, I'm just not going to do it. So clearly he doesn't care. I'm just curious to see what we're going to get. I think the format's interesting, going the world and USA. But it's just hard to get excited about the All-Star game this year, man. It really is.
It's such a showcase event for the league, and it's sad because all of us grew up watching a different game, East and West, and guys cared. It's what made it interesting. I can only tell you, going even in the last few years, I sit there and I go, they don't care. And as a longtime fan, it crushes me because it's not very fun to watch.
I mean, okay, but dig into that for a second, Nick, because I said earlier I don't think all-star games can succeed because we all get to see these players all the time. It doesn't have the same specialness. You've also got a generation now of NBA kids that are in the league, men that are in the league, that grew up playing against each other in travel teams when they were in 8th grade. Like, by the time they get to the league, I think we have more bonds and friendships now with NBA players to a level where it's like they've also seen each other over and over. So, like, back then, I keep using Magic versus Michael as this because when I was a kid, that was the thing. Magic and Michael was rare. Now, you know, in 6 years when we get DeBonsa versus Peterson and they're playing against each other since they were 5 years old, like, it's just another day. I don't know how to, why it would matter to these
But Fitz, think about this. When's the last time we felt a real rivalry in the league? It all ties together. Everybody's friends. Everybody knows each other. There's not that hatred that I think every league needs to not only sell to the public, but get players interested night to night. It's my single biggest, my soapbox is the regular season of the NBA has never mattered less. I have been a fan my whole life, and I can't remember a time when my friends, I ask them, like, hey, what are you watching? And they're like, are you kidding me? They'll tune it in the playoffs, and they'll get locked in about what's going on. But unless you are a diehard NBA fan or unless you're a gambler that's got some money on the game, I don't feel like people are watching the league the same way day to day as they used to.
I mean, Devin Booker and Kendall Jenner in Instagram comments were the best rivalry of the NBA this past week.
If you're having to resort to Kardashians for attention, like, it's already, you can tell it's in a bad state.
Oh, you are just truly scraping the bottom of the barrel. But we have SGA as the current league MVP betting favorite. Obviously, SGA and the Thunder just beat Jokic and the Nuggets, but we also just saw the Pistons rout the Nets by a franchise record 53 points. Are we not talking about Cade Cunningham enough as a potential league MVP?
He's pretty awesome. I don't buy that he's going to get there this year because if you're the MVP, you have been so high above everybody else all year long. The narrative is going to catch up to Cade. I think he's going to get his chance over the next couple seasons. It's not there yet because not enough people are paying attention to the Detroit Pistons. If they keep winning and he keeps getting better, he'll be an MVP at some point soon.
Yeah, I think that's a totally fair take with that. You know, I'd put Cade probably at number 6 right now in the MVP list. And it's because Nikola Jokic, he came back. He still can miss one game and still qualify under that 65-game minimum. So if he's still out there, he can't be above him. So, you know, between SGA, Nikola Jokic, Luka Doncic, what he's doing for the Los Angeles Lakers and keeping them afloat, I'd also give a nod to Victor Wembanyama. You know, he's taken the San Antonio Spurs to another level, to a top 5 team in the Western Conference. So as well as the Pistons are playing, we know the Western Conference is way deeper than the Eastern Conference. So as great as his ascension has been, I think we're a little bit of time still needs to pass before we could put Cade up that high.
Don't get me started on the 65-game rule. I absolutely hate it. I abhor it. I understand why they did it, but the fact that we're going to have genuine injuries keep people out of MVP conversations is going to change legacies. We got plenty more to get with you guys on, including Giannis. So we're going to make the guys stick with us. We're going to figure out exactly what's going to happen with Giannis Antetokounmpo, and even more importantly, will it happen this week? We'll figure it out next.
Kirby may not win another national title. I think he's the best head coach in college football right now. So it sounds kind of like an oxymoron. It's not. Well, it's possible I'm wrong that he's the best. But even if I'm right that he is the best, yeah, it's possible that he won 2 of them back-to-back years, and that's it. That's what Dabo Swinney did. He won a couple, and then I don't think Dabo will ever win another national title. What does that mean? It means he's one of the best to ever do it, and he's a Hall of Famer. That's what it means for Dabo Swinney.
All right, so let's talk about fights we want to see 2026. GC, you just gave us a nice little teaser there, so why don't you go first?
My concrete one, my number one that I want to see is still remaining Ilia Topuria versus Islam Makhachev. Whether it's at 170, whether it's Islam going down to 155, the star power that these two guys have with the run that Islam is on, with the undefeated record of Ilia Topuria, it's just a match that I am craving more than any other.
Isaiah Stewart is underrated, Sharp. Way underrated. 37% from three. It's a really good pick. People think about Isaiah Stewart as this tough guy who can shoot, good at rim finisher and all that too. But in reality this year, he's become a all defensive player candidate. He's become a great switch defender. Isaiah Stewart, one of the most underrated players in the whole league.
The NFL's so brutal, man. It's such a brutal. I thought to myself when Jonathan Gannon got fired, I thought, did they not just wish him a happy birthday? They did.
Hey.
They wished him a happy birthday, and then they fired him on the same day. So that's the NFL, folks. That hook is real. It's out there.
I mean, it's bad. It's bad to be fired. He does, however, get a lovely parting gift.
A 20-year-old Greek big man once tried to knock Mike Dunleavy out in a playoff game. Almost 11 years later, Dunleavy trying to figure out how to acquire that player for the team he runs now. That tweet came from a dashingly good-looking Nick Friedell, who's sitting just a few feet from me right now on Yahoo Sports Daily. Dan Titus also with us, Caroline Fenton, Jason Fitz. And let's dig into it for just a second. Nick, tell us a little bit about the Warriors' pursuit. Do you really believe they have the chips necessary, this is the important part, the chips necessary to land Giannis?
I think they do. I'm curious if they put them all in the next couple days. I don't believe that it's going to happen now. I think the Warriors would like for it maybe to happen, but I'm still hesitant that the super pairing of Steph and Giannis is that much better than Steph and Jimmy before he got hurt and Draymond. So I think there are a lot of different layers here we can get into, but Mr. Fitz, if we were betting on exactly what happens, at least with the Warriors, I'd be surprised if it happens before Thursday.
Yeah, I'm just curious about the other teams that are interested, right? Because the Warriors have, the young piece in Jonathan Kuminga. They have the future assets in terms of picks. Maybe Brandon Podziemski comes over as well. But what if OKC wanted to get Giannis? What if Houston wanted to offer up some of their young pieces? San Antonio. There's other big hitters that could come in here and just surprise the league. So while the Warriors probably have the best offer right now, I think the Bucks are probably going to wait a little bit longer to kind of stretch this out to see, all right, how long, who's going to get desperate. Right now, the Warriors are desperate. And, Mike Dunleavy's in Australia right now, evaluating talent. So I think he's kind of operating as if, it seems like he's operating as if, I still got to do my job and worry about the picks, not necessarily trying to acquire one of the best players in the league right now.
Okay, but here's my thought process. Just because you can doesn't mean that you should. The Warriors have what is probably on paper the most attractive trade package for the Bucks. I think the Knicks make the most basketball sense, but what are the Knicks going to give the Bucks to make it worthwhile to trade for Giannis? But are the Warriors in a position right now to push all of their future assets into the middle when your average age of your starting five is like 75 years old?
There's one person that answers that question, and it's Steph Curry.
Steph Curry, yep.
He has got to be the guy that decides, okay, we're going to push everything in, or, all right, I'm good with Draymond. We'll wait for Jimmy, and we'll see what happens over the next couple summers. If Steph wants this to happen, he's got to be the one to push it. And if Steph wants this to happen, he's got to call up Giannis and be like, hey, big fella, I need you out here. I am very hesitant to think both of those things are going to happen again right now. Could they happen over the summer as everybody kind of finds out what's actually on the table? Maybe, but I'd be surprised if Steph was behind the scenes as that engine saying, you all better do this right now or else I'm going to get really upset.
Let me ask you this then. If the Warriors go all in, they get super aggressive, they get it done, it takes a king's ransom, does it result in an NBA championship in the next few years in your mind? Because if it doesn't, what's the point for the Warriors?
No, because you got to see what's left. They're going to be gutting. I mean, I will say, I think that it would be a move that Warriors fans would have wanted a long time ago. Let's commit to a path. We're not trying to build for the future. We're trying to win now. And I think that that's where they failed the organizations, that they've always been trying to move on from Steph, move on from Steph. What's life after Steph? He's still here. He could probably play till he's like 43 years old. He's one of the best shooters ever. He is the best shooter ever. So I think now at least you're just pushing your chips in to say, we're trying to win it now. We want to extend this. We don't care about the future. Let's get it. Can they win it? I don't know about that.
Vince, I'm with Dan. I don't believe they can win, but it gives them a path towards whatever's coming after Steph. And from a business standpoint, you can build around Giannis and say, all right, he's our guy. The problem is they're still not better than the Thunder. They're still not better than the Nuggets with Jokic. We don't know what other moves would happen. What I am very hesitant for the rest of the league is you've got a guy in Giannis who's going to be 32 with calf issues. He is strong, and he is physical, and he plays fast. What happens in a couple more years? So whether it's the Warriors or anybody else, when you get that next extension, Giannis is still awesome. I just don't know if he can stay at that awesome level for years and years to come.
This also is not the first time we've talked about a Giannis trade. I feel like every single year we want Giannis out of Milwaukee so badly. This year feels different. Like this year feels like the year where it's maybe more tangible, more likely to happen. Dan, why is this year different? Why now?
The Bucks are a mess. They're unfortunately, they let go of Dame Lillard. He wasn't happy about that. And then they started poorly. And, no slight to Doc Rivers, but I don't know. They fired Adrian Griffin a little bit too early, in my opinion. And now you're looking at a roster that has Kyle Kuzma, Bobby Portis, Miles Turner, who's having one of the worst offensive seasons that he's had. It's not desirable. And I think Giannis has done enough in his career. He got them a championship. He doesn't owe them anything anymore. If he wants a championship, now's the time he needs to ask out. And right now, I think, he's nursing this calf injury, but I think everyone around the league knows, Giannis wants out, and this is the time to make a move. So here, give us your best offers. The thing I'm curious about is, what if Giannis has demands? What if Giannis wants to go to a specific place? Does that kind of alter how this negotiation tactics kind of go? So if Steph Curry calls him and says, yo, Giannis, come to the Bay, I don't know. Let's see it happen.
So everybody knows my love of horror movies. I love to say, do you want to play a game? But this one doesn't involve a little guy on a tricycle or any torture. We're going to play a game. We've got some whiteboards for you guys. We've got some markers for you guys. All right. So what we're going to do is I'm going to give a name, and then you tell me where you think they're going to go. Okay. So hide your marker boards from each other, and we're going to go through some big trade destinations, big trade candidates, I should say. And then I'll count 3, 2, 1, and when I say go, we'll reveal to the cameras and explain your answers. Are we ready for this game, gentlemen? We feel good?
Do it.
We feel good. All right. Start with this. We're talking about Giannis. So write down on the whiteboard, what team will Giannis be playing for this time next week? So we're talking about just a few days from now. Write it big so the cameras can see it. All right. And everybody's ready. Okay.
We'll be judging your handwriting.
All right. And reveal in 3, 2, 1. What do we got?
Ooh.
Bucks and Bucks. Both saying Bucks. I hear Frank Schwab, who you can watch on Inside Coverage later today, rejoicing in the background, a diehard Bucks fan. All right, so we know you've made it clear, Nick, why you think Bucks. Dan, why do you think?
Yeah, I just think that it just makes sense for the Bucks to just wait this out. A lot of teams are still trying to figure out. They're getting healthier. Teams are getting healthier, so they're trying to see what their core nucleus looks like. I think it's going to be a summertime trade for Giannis, and plus he's hurt right now, so I think some teams might be a little bit skittish just given his playoff history and those calf injuries. So.
All right, well, let's go back into our NBA general manager crystal ball. This time next week, where will Ja Morant be playing?
Ooh, Ja. This is good. It's next week, so.
I know. Next week.
Can't wait. We will, by the way, even though we are in San Francisco live in person covering the Super Bowl, fear not, we are going to have every ounce of the trade deadline covered. It took Titus a long time to write this. Can't wait to see what the answer is. All right, reveal in. Go ahead. You want to count?
Are we ready? 3, 2, 1. Ja Morant will be in Memphis.
Oh,
so boring. I know.
They're literally booing us in our ears. We are being booed. Our own show staff is going full rogue on us, booing you guys. All right, Nick, why is he not going anywhere?
Because he doesn't have a lot of trade value. This is not the job from a few years ago. He's just not the same player. The money that's still left on that deal and the impact he can make, good luck to Memphis.
That still a concern. Guy can't play any games, so I don't know. It's just a hard move. It's a hard market for him and a lot of other players right now that will have this superstar name to him.
All right, so let's stay in that same draft class then, because I remember when everybody thought the first 2 players in that draft were going to change 2 franchises. Zion, a week from now, where is Zion playing? Not eating. Where is Zion playing? Yeah, I made the joke. I made a fat joke. It's okay.
He deserves it.
Yeah, I mean,
he's fat. Okay, he's fat.
All right. So let's reveal it in 3, 2, 1. We're getting canceled after this one. Ball saying New Orleans. The boos are coming at an electric pace. Titus,
electric trade deadline. That's what we're putting together on these boards.
We got Luka to the Lakers last year. Now all of a sudden we're gluttonous. Like,
yes.
You don't get Giannis to Golden State, we're all gonna boo. But then why is Zion sticking in New Orleans?
Kind of similar with Ja. You just can't trust them with the availability. And the Pelicans, they're supposed to be winning right now. They're one of the worst teams in the league. Their draft pick's going to go to Atlanta next year. If they could find a suitor, I think they would take it. But I just haven't heard any rumblings of anybody interested in Zion Williamson right now.
Nick, is this a Pelicans problem? Because look, it's no mystery that the Pelicans have struggled a bit in their entirety of their existence. Is this a Pelicans problem or is this a Zion problem?
It's a both. This is like, this is when you see the question and you go, yes.
Yes. yes.
There are a lot of problems in New Orleans. That fan base is so sad and they're just depressed. Zion didn't hold up his end of the bargain, though. He didn't keep his body in order. He hasn't played at the same level, and he hadn't been out there enough. Nobody is denying the talent. It's there. He's just not the type of franchise savior they made him out to be.
I wish you and I collectively could have the hours back that we spent on ESPN Radio at the time talking about both of these gentlemen in the draft. All right, let's get one more in before I drink my 12 stones of oblivion. Anthony Davis, AD. So we have two more we're going to get in. So AD is next one. So AD, where's AD going to be in a week? All right, so we'll see as they do some writing right now. Anthony Davis.
A little bit of a little something.
I mean, maybe we can have something.
Something.
All right, reveal in 3, 2, 1. Oh, man. There we go. We are consistent. We are, man.
Another boo.
I
love the NBA. It's fantastic.
There's a lot of variance this year.
I am feeling our producer extraordinaire, Mike Goldfarb, who does a great job and loves the NBA, and he loves passionate storylines. He has been so excited for this trade deadline for months. I am feeling him melt behind the curtain right now. Like I'm looking live, and I'm melting, and it's happening right in front of us. Titus, Nick?
I mean, I just wish he could stay healthy, man. Like, he's just ruined his own trade market for that. And he wants an extension, which I think is also a very interesting thing, given his injury history. But Rich Paul swears he's going to get traded. So, I don't know. Maybe this is the one that we might actually see the movement on.
Dan, if you were to invest in any of these guys, though, given their injury history, you couldn't feel good about any of them because of what we've seen year after year. This isn't new. These aren't new issues with the injuries. Good luck to everybody out there that's expecting like some major deadline moves. I think the moves we're going to see are like the one we started with.
Yeah.
As much as we're getting booed for all of this, I don't think you're wrong. Like, if I'm a general manager in good faith, I cannot give up tangible assets for Anthony Davis or for Zion or for Ja because they're just big question marks. So for our love and adoration for chaos, one player, I mean, right on your whiteboards, one player that you think will be moved at the deadline might be a massive Luka-level shock if that even exists in the NBA, but one player that could be moved at the deadline.
They're about to both give us
a good player.
Yeah.
A good player.
All right.
A player that we will be talking about on Friday post NBA trade deadline.
Not
Nick,
DeAndre
I'm
Hunter
watching
and
Nick
Dennis
melt down
Schroeder.
over here. Like
Right.
Nick's like, Nick's about to trade me somewhere. That's about happening. I mean, this is electric. This is electric.
Can't wait.
I think Nick doesn't have an answer. I think we've seen it. All right, at least we're getting something.
Doesn't want to play the game.
I'm cheating here.
I mean,
but I see
it's
this.
not.
All right.
It's.
Go ahead. Go ahead. Titus played the game. Go ahead, Titus. See what we got. Titus says, Kobe White.
Big fat question mark.
That's what we got. Look, to that point, we were spoiled last year, and it was a year ago that everybody sat here stunned. Even players sat here stunned when Luka was traded, and seeing those images is something I'll never forget. But we also need to remember that is the exception, not the rule. So, gentlemen, we appreciate you guys hanging out with us. Obviously, you can read Titus across Yahoo Sports, and you can read Nick on The Athletic out there. We appreciate you guys, your expertise. When the bat phone rings over the course of the next 6 days, it's just like if you hear something's happening, just
Giannis or bust.
Yeah, Giannis or bust.
That's what it boils down to.
Again, if you're just tuning in, our shows will be live all day from San Francisco. Make sure you stick with Yahoo Sports all day. And we will be hanging out with you all week from San Francisco. So Caroline and I will be here all week. Obviously, with the trade deadline coming up, plenty of NBA talk, but we'll also get you caught up. We're going to go do weird things at the Super Bowl and the Super Bowl experience as well. So
do weird things, hang out with cool people. It's a dream come true.
She's going to kick my ass in a 40-yard dash. That's the one thing. Like, I'm too old for that at this point. Like, there's no way. Come back and hang out with us tomorrow. Again, 9 Pacific is our time this week. Thanks for watching Yahoo Sports Daily. Stick with Yahoo Sports all day long.